Okay, should be live. Let me pour myself a drink before I start. StreamYard has a completely different user interface now, so if I'm a little bit slow in getting it all figured out, I do apologise. All the bloody tabs are different and everything, and I'm scared to press the wrong thing in case I shut the whole thing down instantly. I don't even know how to turn the bloody camera on, but we'll figure it out while I have a drink. Wait there. Ah, there we are. That's how you do it. How you doing? Oh, that's lovely. All right. Apology early. Good to see you. How you doing, man? It's been a while. God bless you. Hello, Dave. Finally catching a Nordic live stream. God bless, buddy. Yeah. I think it's probably just because don't you live in America? That's probably why. Like, I probably stream. Like for you, it'll be during the day, whereas for me, it's usually like late afternoon, approaching nighttime. So you're probably just too busy to catch it. It's kind of like when when American guys stream. For me, it's always way too late. It's always like early hours of the morning and that, so I'm never really able to catch it. Just normally what happens. How's it going, Raf? God bless you. God bless you too. I don't know. It's been ages since I last. I think it's been like nearly 3 months, if I remember rightly, since I last done a stream. I know it's my usual excuse. I'm just too busy. I mean, it's not really an excuse. It's the truth. I literally am just too busy to. I'm too busy to stream. I'm too busy to make videos, or at least videos that actually um, require any effort. And any videos where I've got to like sit down, do audio mixing and edit. People have got no idea how long that shit takes. It takes like a long ass time. Sometimes it can take up a full day or if not more. So see when you work the kind of schedule that I work, where it's like shifts can be like dropped on you last minute, and you got to travel around the city and that. And then even when I do get time off, I'm just too tired to do anything because again, it's quite physically demanding what I do. And yeah, I've got to go to the gym and everything. It's pain in the arse, you know. Making videos is just too hard these days, you know. Had morning church service, now heading to it. Oh, good. Do you know I would have gone to church this morning because it's the first Sunday I've had off in a long time. I was just far too tired. I was working very late last night. I didn't get in till like 1 in the morning, and I'd been working like back to back shifts and everything. So I would ordinarily, if I've got a Sunday off, I'd go to a Sunday church service. Although on Easter Sunday, before my shift, because I wasn't working till late, I actually went to mass. It was my grandmother's Catholic church. I went there with my mum and my sister, and we did a mass service because they were up visiting. So I did go to church last Sunday there. So I have been going, but I would have gone today if I was up on time. I was just far too tired. I've had about 5 hours sleep probably in the past few days. It's been crazy. God bless. Yeah, how's it going, man? Can the morons admit that Conor Bum is trash? Yeah. What was the result of the Conor Ben fight? I'm assuming he won. See, I was working last night during the fight, and I was on Del Boys Live on my phone during my break. I went to this little coffee shop and had a cup of tea, and I was like trying to find the result, but the internet was too slow. And I was on Del Boys Live right as the fight was starting, but I had to go back because there was a situation. But basically, I wasn't really on the internet um, from that point on. I didn't have time to check, so I don't even know what the result was. I know Fury won though. I saw the result of that. Fury won by decision. I've still not had time to watch it though. Um, and I might watch the highlights later on if I can find the video. Even really simple edits take hours. That's why I stopped making vids too much. But yeah, absolutely. I did see some of your vids. They were quite good back in the day. But yeah, it takes a lot of time when you're a busy person. See, when you got to sit there, you got to record the audio, make sure that there's no like stupid background noise or edit it out and all that. Edit out all the breaks, edit out all the coughing and stuff. And see, when I record videos, my mouth gets all dry and like I end up like forgetting what I was supposed to say and spiraling off topic and all that. So I've got to edit all that out if I can be bothered, you know. You've also got to have like the visuals put in place, and it just takes so long. The video takes ages to export. Depending on your internet connection, it takes a while to upload, and it's just a pain in the ass, man. It's annoying. Yeah, in America, it's like the times don't always add up because, again, I think for you, like the middle of the day when you'd be working or you'd be socializing or whatever, is when I'd be streaming, you know, because when I've got everything done is when I'd be streaming. I'm not the type of person to stream in the morning. In the mornings, I'm like if I've got a day off in the mornings, I like to rest, have a breakfast, spend time with the missus, stuff like that. Maybe play a game or go to church or whatever. I don't really like the idea of streaming early in the morning. I prefer to do it late afternoon towards nighttime where I can truly relax and kind of commit to it, you know. That's just how I prefer to do it. Hello, all. Fury won clearly last night, but I was nearly falling asleep by the end of it. Wasn't that entertaining? Only good fight of the whole Netflix card was Honey versus Clark. Who won that fight? Honey, do you know? I was tempted to stick a fiver on Clark because he was what was it like a 4-1 underdog or something like that? He was a pretty big underdog. I didn't think he would win, but I thought it was worth a punt. I didn't do it though. I kind of got cold feet in the end, and I never went through with it. But I was thinking of sticking a fiver on him. So did I take it? Honey won though. Otherwise, somebody would have brought that up. You know. Yeah. So did Regis give him problems then? All right. Ben beat Prograve by UD over 10. Had Ben winning 8 rounds to do. So it wasn't close, but competitive. Is it that kind of fight? Yeah, Regis Prograis, I think, would have beaten Ben like 4 or 5 years ago. But I think ever since the Josh Taylor fight, you know, losing to Josh Taylor, like Regis Prograis never been the same since that fight. He took a lot of punishment in that fight. Like he took a bit of a beating towards the end of it. And I think it took so much out of him that he's never been the same. So I feel like Prograis is on his way out. Well, I say on his way out. He's been on his way out for a while now. He hasn't been very good for quite a long time, if you ask me. Good to see you, Nordic. Yeah, good to see you too, man. Same here. I wanted to make it to church. I've been exhausted all weekend from, but yeah. And again, this is the first Sunday I've had off in a while. Again, I did go to church last Sunday, but that was because my mum and my sister were up, so I was up very early, and I was able to go before work and all that. But today I just was far too tired. I've been working too much, you know. It's not an excuse. I should be doing it, but I didn't. Here's what it is. You think Zayas and Ennis fight? Xander Zayas fighting? Are you on about Boots Ennis? Are they fighting? I didn't even know about that. I had no idea they were fighting, but yeah, probably will be fixed. The welterweight division is absolute trash. Far cry from what it used to be. Yeah, it's rubbish. Well, welterweight was one of them divisions that got a lot of press back in the day. Even when it wasn't that good, it always got a lot of press because of guys like Manny Pacquiao. You know, guys like Manny Pacquiao being in the division just inherently got it a lot of coverage. But back in Pacquiao's day, it was definitely a lot better than it is now. You'd have to say. I mean, who's the best guy there now? What? Bloody Shakur Stevenson. Who is it? I don't know, man. Um, he got a UD win, was fighting for his life against 37, age 250 Prograis. Yeah. Well, I mean, Conor Ben's never been more than domestic level. Let's be honest. He's never been any more than that. I don't think anybody's even really regarded him as more than that, except maybe Eddie Hearn, who tried to manufacture him, and that ship has sailed. That's been given up on. So I think he knows his level. He's built his name by fighting faded, past their prime names. Basically, that's what Conor Ben has done. You know, Not necessarily fighting legends, just fighting guys you've heard of, guys who used to hold titles and have been in big fights, but are long past their prime. That's his overall brand. Fury looked awful against the stiff plumber. Makes sense why he ducked the Wardley fight for a tune-up. Load of bollocks. Well, Wardley would beat him now. I'm 100% confident that right now Fabio Wardley would beat Fury because Fury is nowhere near as committed. He has nowhere near as much heart or desire as what he used to have. And I think Fabio Wardley would probably make him quit at this point because Fabio Wardley has that kind of dog in him, doesn't he? Where he would just break him down and grind him to a halt. So he's wise not to fight Fabio Wardley. I mean, and if he can't stop and destroy a guy like Arslanbek Makhmudov, I know Makhmudov's a big puncher and a tough guy, but he's a guy who's been stopped a couple times and a guy who lacks stamina and lacks defensive instincts. I just think that, to me, like Fury's on his way out, honestly. And he wouldn't beat Wardley now, in my opinion. Obviously, not going to beat Usyk. If Arslan can land cleanly like that, Wardley can definitely put Fury on his ass. Yeah, I mean Arslanbek might be a bigger puncher than Wardley, but Wardley's a big puncher, and he's also a lot tougher and a lot fitter and more of an athlete in general, and probably physically stronger. So, to me, I think that Wardley would be too much for this version of Fury. Don't get me wrong, Fury at his prime would absolutely smash Wardley. He'd completely school him, but now I don't think he will, if the fight happens. UD couldn't finish at overweight past his prime, like welterweight pro grade, yeah. Yeah, Conor Benn is nothing special. I've never rated him that highly. Domestic level at best. Oh, Honey won clearly. The judges were trying to rob him though. So did Honey win on points? I'm glad I never bet on Fraser Clark then if that happened. Wilder versus Chisora was just it was just an example of two guys completely shot. One of them is more shot than the other. Like I think Chisora. I said this before the fight as well. Like Chisora is a better fighter than Wilder, but Chisora is more shot than Wilder is. He's more past his prime than Wilder is. So I feel like it was just a situation where Wilder outlasted him and managed to, flop. He managed to blag his way through to a win. Blunder his way to a win against an old man, basically. Yep, so many lukewarm Christians around, I would say. Ones who are not particularly committed. He didn't duck. He was out for over a year. Back is still dangerous. Overall, Fury looked fine. Just getting the rust out. Aye. Yeah, I mean, look, we didn't expect Fury to look good, did we? Because he hasn't looked good since the first Usyk fight, and that was well over a year ago now. So, I mean, all we expected from Fury was him to get the rounds in and to get another win. A win was all he needed, really. But again, I personally haven't thought for a while that he's serious. Who should Wilder fight next? I think he should no, don't. Why would he rematch Zhang? That's still a mismatch. Zhang will knock Wilder out 10 times out of 10. Honey won it over 10, was close for some rounds, but by the end he deserved the winner. Was Honey. I was like, the deserved winner was Honey. Outlanded the slower Clark nearly throughout. Although Honey was buzzed, I think in 4-7-3 I had it. All right, I see. So it was competitive, but a clear win for Justice Honey. Doesn't surprise me. Again, I was only thinking about punting, but I didn't bother. Rafa, no, Zhang, just Zhang, so we can see Wilder slept again. He was complaining when Zhang hit him. Yeah, Wilder was complaining that he got hit with a real punch from a heavyweight because he wasn't used to that. It was like in the second Fury fight, a heavyweight actually tried to punch him and punch through the target. And as a result of that, Wilder complained and claimed he had egg weights in his gloves and he was drugged and all sorts. The Pacquiao, Cotto, Margarito, Mosley, Clotty, Judo welterweight days were amazing. Yeah, they were a lot better. I mean, they weren't like they weren't all like amazing, great fighters, but they were very good. There was a consistent level of quality, and they were all dedicated athletes too. You know, so yeah, got to take that into consideration. Um, Fabio make Fury quit. People suspected Fury has quitting him. Well, he probably does now because he's like what pushing 40 now, and he's just past his prime. So I think he's not going to have the dedication anymore. You know. Yeah, AJ apparently doesn't want the fight, from what I hear. Apparently, he refused to negotiate. So who cares? And Fury's announced his retirement again for like the 20th time. So that'll mean they'll be negotiating at some point. But I don't know. Who knows if that fight will even happen? I think I don't really know if Italma is legit because we haven't seen him in any real genuine fights against guys in their prime. We'll have to wait and see. You know. Maybe stick him in with Chisora or Wilder, see if he can stop them. That'll be a good fight for his level, I'd like to see Fury versus Wardley or Honey. If Fury's heart is in it. Well, Honey would be like the safe bet, wouldn't he? Because he's not the puncher that Fabio Wardley is. He's not he's not as durable as Fabio Wardley, but he's a better boxer from a technical point of view. So we could see Fury challenged technically in that fight, facing a guy who can move, a guy who's quite fleet of foot, who's got good balance, a good jab, good lateral movement. That would be a good fight. And a guy who's tall and got a good jab, a good long right hand. Like that would be an interesting challenge. It'll be a different sort of challenge than Makhmudov, who's a seek and destroy kind of guy who picks his shots and looks to take you out. Honey would be more of an interesting technical battle. But and I think Wardley would just crush Fury at this point. Like Fury would have his successes, but and I think Wardley would just break him down. I honestly do. I mean, it's possible. Like Fury with a good training camp would have a chance, but does he have the commitment to have a good training camp? I don't really know at this point. Don't really think so, to be honest. That's why the name Connor Bum fits so well. He's barely sea level, yeah. No, he was always that. Like, look, beating Chris Eubank Jr. doesn't convince me that he's a world championship level fighter. I mean, maybe Conor Benn will win a title, but he'll win one of the like lower echelon titles, like from some faded champion, or he'll win it vacant. He won't be like a credible champion, if that makes sense. He's past his prime, but still has enough, possibly. I don't think he will, though. Once Chisora stepped on the scale and showed Wilder all this respect, we pretty much knew it's kind of fixed. Well, I suppose because Chisora's the kind of guy who like spit in your face and like headbutt you at a weigh-in, try to kiss you or try to bite you or something. Like they'll throw, be like, "I'm gonna physically show you." That's the kind of energy he shows before fights. He acts like a thug and all that, and tries to psych himself up for war. He didn't really do that, did he? Suspiciously against Wilder, but I don't know, man. Maybe I'm playing armchair psychology. Who knows? Sadly, I think Christian falls under the category of buzzwords. Only difference is that Christian is a term to make you look good. That anyone can say, yeah, but I'm a Christian. It's all well and good saying you're a Christian, but showing that you're a Christian by your actions and by your overall temperament is very, very different, isn't it? You should be able to turn the other cheek if you're a Christian. You should have that in you. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a temper. I'm not saying that you shouldn't struggle, but what you definitely shouldn't do is compromise on moral issues. If you're a Christian, you should be pragmatic. You should be rational. You should trust in Jesus and trust in Scripture. Instead of your own opinion. Yeah, if he comes to win, he could. The future of boxing is looking kind of bleak. No new stars, all manufactured. Even the normies are starting to see it. Yeah, listen, I speak to normies about boxing sometimes when I'm working and all that. Like last night, there was these Irish lads I was talking to because I was working in an Irish pub, right? And they were talking about the boxing, right, that was on. and they were saying, "Oh, it's all rubbish now. It's all YouTubers and it's all like TikTok guys, and there's no actual like stuff." Like, because they were talking about guys like Frampton and all that, and Josh Taylor and whatnot, and the kind of the more recent stars to come out of like Celtic, circles, and they were all just kind of talking about there's no one really like that coming through. It's all influencers, it's all internet guys. These are casuals. These are like football guys basically, and even they know that. Even they know that boxing is just complete trash now. That it's all gimmicky and it's all manufactured. They know this. Fight was still close. Chisora might have won if he didn't get dropped. Didn't Yeah, apparently the guys were like tripping all over each other with poor balance and throwing each other around, and referees was calling knockdowns. You know, who should Moses fight next? You think? I think Chisora or Wilder, one or the other. Yeah, I know Wilder won, so that would make more sense. But even Chisora would be a good test for him. I mean, if he can fight Dillian White, why not fight one of them? You know, it's a faded name who might come to win. You never know. Be interesting. See if he could stop them. Yeah, boxing straight up sucks right now. It sucked for a long time. I've thought boxing has sucked for the past 10 years. I'll be honest with you. I've been so disillusioned with it for that long. To me, it's probably just as bad as it's been for the past 10 years for the most part. It's just more people are starting to notice now. I think we need to see a Talma against someone who won't retreat and will pick his shots. So far, he's only fought all past his prime guys, fought absolutely nobody yet. He's fought guys who were there to be an opponent. He's not fought guys who were there to beat him, who were there to give him a test. He's fought there. Again, they might as well have had the name or the word opponent written on their chest. Like have a sign hung around their neck that says opponent. It's Moses Atalma and his opponent. That's what it is, It's all entirely manufactured. The Dillian White fight, in my opinion, is fixed. That's a lie. AJ kind of let us know that when Fury is ready, Fury always messes up negotiations. AJ always chasing Fury. What Fury did to Usyk was horrible. Yeah, you can't trust Fury. You can't trust him. He's a serial pull-out merchant, isn't he? So you can't trust him. Pulls out more than David Hay. That sounded wrong, didn't it? Not even worth streaming a fight. Reversely, yeah. Maybe the winner of Dubois Wardley, because those guys are not that high above him in terms of like resume, are they? So, although they probably would beat him because they're closer to their prime, I think Italma should fight Dubois. Look, he could fight any of these guys, Dubois, Zhang, like any of the current names in the division. If he's that good, let's see him in with them. But we know that's not going to happen until those guys are compromised in some way and ready to lay down for him. The boxing establishment has clearly got plans for that guy, and they're not going to jeopardize it right now, are they? That was the thing. Even the normies were saying last night that Anthony Joshua is manufactured and completely overhyped. Even they were saying that. They know it. Boomers saying social sport makes you lazy. Boomers used it more than anyone. Mate, look, I've talked about this before. I think I talked about this on a community post a while back. I know boomers personally who have lived almost their entire life on, again, social credit, social security, which is that's what you call it in America. Over here, we call it DLA or PIP, whatever they call it, right? I know boomers that have lived 50 plus years, sometimes even longer, on disability living allowance. And they talk about how our generation is lazy because we don't want to work. I remember because I was unemployed for a few years and I was on job seekers for a while. Then I got kicked off it because I wasn't entitled to it apparently. So for the past few years of it, back then I lived on my own savings. I literally saved up money from working and just lived off it, right? I had boomers who have lived almost their entire life on disability living allowance that they don't need, but they get it somehow, telling me I'm lazy because I don't want to work. And you hear boomers all the time. You see them in pubs again, living off of benefits and having lived off of benefits even during their working life, claiming that Generation Z is lazy because they don't want to work some shitty factory job or work in McDonald's, you know? That's I've literally had these conversations and overheard these conversations, and the lack of self-awareness from boomers is just astounding. It's shocking how like these people live in a total fantasy. They don't live in reality. I would favor Wardley over Caballel. Caballel is a better boxer than Wardley. He's more technically good, but Wardley is a freak athlete and he's too strong and too durable. He would break Caballel down. I think he'd probably stop him. I genuinely do. Right now I don't really care because look, those fights could happen if Usyk beats Verhoeven, right? Which that's not an easy fight, by the way. That's difficult. I know he's like a 33-1 on like favorite, but Verhoeven is a very very tough guy and a big puncher, right? Usyk will probably win that fight though. He could still fight one of his mandatories afterwards. I mean, there's no rush, is there? And it's not like Usyk's been avoiding big names and credible contenders to fight guys like Verhoeven, is it? I mean, he's just beaten Dubois, Fury, AJ on 2 occasions each time. He's beaten Chisora, still a tough contender now. He did what he did at cruiserweight, obviously. Usyk has not been avoiding fighters, so I would give the guy some slack and say he's earned a soft defense. And let's not pretend that Rico Verhoeven is a soft defense. Rico Verhoeven is one of the best fighters in the world right now. I know he's a kickboxer, but dude's got hands, all right? Dude can fight, right? I mean, would you be 100% confident that Ajit Caballel, for example, would beat Rico Verhoeven in the ring? Would you be 100% confident that Wardley or Dubois or even Fury right now would beat Rico Verhoeven? Would you? Because I wouldn't. Not right now. Like, I would pick them to beat him. Don't get me wrong. I would favor them, but I wouldn't put my house on it. Like, I wouldn't put like my life savings on it. You know, I definitely wouldn't. Remigration will fix everything, bro. Trust. Not ourselves. We don't need to do that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Remigration is just it's the promised land, isn't it? The prophesized promised land. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Don't worry. You just got to trust in the plan, you know? I hate how people use turn the other cheek to say Christianity is weak and we shouldn't strive for justice. Yeah, turn the other cheek means you need to allow yourself to become violently subjugated by Islam. It doesn't mean what Jesus Christ said it means in the whole verse. Like don't recite the whole verse and the whole passage. Just recite that one line and say done. Kind of like when people say, "Judge not," but they don't they don't recite the rest of the verse. You know, like when people say, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone," but they completely ignore the very next words of Jesus, where he says to the to the I was about to say whore. Then that's a bit disrespectful, but you know when he says to the lady, "Go and sin no more." Right? Jesus Christ wasn't excusing her sins, was he? He acknowledged she was a sinner. He was simply pointing out the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. That's just what he was doing. But he didn't condone or affirm sin as being acceptable, did he? Or being a good thing. He was very, very clear not. He said, go and sin no more. But the people who use that, the lukewarm Christians, so to speak, completely ignore the rest of the verse, don't they? I remember you looking at my list of worst decisions in boxing history. You thought my list was decent, should have been a different one. Yeah, I no, the list was okay. I didn't agree with everything on it. I didn't agree with, like, for example, you mentioned Pacquiao Marquez 3. That wasn't a robbery. Pacquiao clearly won that fight, in my opinion. You mentioned Taylor Catterall 1. You guys know I believe Taylor won that fight. Thought it was perfectly fair. The other one, Hagler versus Leonard. Now, Hagler versus Leonard, I wouldn't call it a robbery. I think believe it or not, I had Hagler winning, but to me, it's not a robbery. That was one of them fights, very, very close. Could have gone either way. Wouldn't have argued either way, personally. What was the other one? There was another one I didn't really agree with. I forget what it was. But yeah, it was a decent list aside from those. And I just think some of the decisions were worse than others, but that's entirely subjective. So it was a good list. I don't really have a problem with it. Again, it's subjective, to an extent anyway. there's a degree of tolerance with turn the other cheek. People take stuff out of context. Yeah, turn the other cheek is more of like, don't react to things with violence. Don't forget your ego, forget your pride, and be pragmatic. That's part of it. Of course, there's more to it than that. Those supposed pro fighters sometimes look just as worse as influencers of all the fake fights. Yeah, I mean, Canelo is the perfect example of that. Like, Canelo is as legitimate, possibly less so, than Jake Paul, as far as I'm concerned. Been saying that for a while. Hey, Nordic, remember when they were talking about the Jays and the issues they caused were only known by a few people? Now it's dead and boring. People just expose how stupid they are. Yeah, I have Jew fatigue. It's like, look, I have pedo fatigue. I have Epstein fatigue. I have normie fatigue. I have boomer fatigue. I have Jew fatigue. I'm fatigued by all that stuff, and I'm sick and tired of talking about it. I'm sick and tired of hearing people talk about it who just learnt about it recently, and think that they hack the mainframe. They think that they crack the code and that they know it all. Like they're talking about stuff I was talking about 10, 15 years ago, as if these are new revelations and as if they have all the answers. And it comes across as doomerism, if that makes sense. Do you think we might be able to chat with each other on this stream? No, we're chatting right now, aren't we? We're chatting on the in the comment section. Watching Fury Makhmudov replay, should be ashamed to take his top off. Why? Yeah. They didn't look like athletes, did they? Fury should have kept it on. Yeah. Yeah, they don't like Christians anyway, do they? They're the ones saying turn the other cheek and taking it out of context. Most people use that term to disarm Christians and make it literal. Not knowing Jesus spoke in hyperbole. My apologies. Let me check if this microphone is working. I just dropped it on my chest. and I panicked because I nearly spilt my iron brew. Right. Yeah, the microphone's working. I have to turn the camera off to see if the microphone's working, because you see if it's working, it does the little grey thing. It goes like that. I can't see that while the camera's on. Pain in the arse. I had to go like that to stop it falling and knocking my iron brew over. All right. But yeah, Jesus spoke in hyperbole. He used metaphors. He used analogies and stuff like that. So it can be quite easy to take his words out of context, but it's very, very deceitful to do that, to take the words of Jesus out of context and use it to deceive Christians, trying to deceive and gaslight believers. I think Usyk is the second greatest fighter of the modern era, behind Pacquiao, but he should fight Cabello and Wardley and then retire. Yeah, Cabello and Wardley are the two obvious choices for opponent for Usyk, because they're the two top contenders and they're both undefeated too. But I won't begrudge him the Rico Verhoeven fight. If it's a fight he wants, it's a fight he can have. He's earned a soft defense, and I wouldn't even consider it a soft defense. I mean, heck was that? I just heard a big bang outside. I don't know if you guys heard that. Let's see what that is. Don't know what that was. I'm scared. All right. Yeah, but I think the Rico Verhoeven fight, it's not a bad one. It's not Rico, again, I know he's a guy who's more known for his kicks, because he's got those big like tree trunk legs that can take a man's head off, but he's actually a good boxer too. I've seen him knock guys out with his hands, and he's also tough and durable, and he's got a lot of heart. I've seen him come back from being dropped and hurt and breaking down quite big, tough opponents. So Rico is one of these guys who I think, as long as the fight lasts, or at least for the first 4 or 5 rounds or so, it's definitely going to be dangerous. I mean, Usyk's not invincible. He can be hit and he can be hurt. It's very unlikely that he loses, obviously, especially with the kind of work ethic and professionalism he's shown. But I still think it's a somewhat interesting fight. The American commentators ruined last night's boxing. Yeah, I've still not seen it, so I don't know what the commentators was like. Wasn't it on Netflix? Does Netflix have a different like commentary team from the Zone? I would have thought it did. Then again, it's that confusing nowadays, isn't it? Like who these fights are, like who they're broadcasted by, and who they hire for the broadcast. It always seems to be the same kind of group of gimps, doesn't it? It's your bloody the Latin snake Mora and what's his name, Dildo Mannix and bloody Paulie Malignaggi and Frotch and Bellew and Frampton and Adam Smith and who else is it? Hey, all the other gimps that they get to do commentary. They never get anyone interesting. Like, I don't know why they can't get someone like Enzo Macronelli or someone like that, or Barry McGuigan, guys who actually were good commentators, or Glenn McCrory. Those are guys who actually, for the most part, kept it real. Barry Jones used to be all right. Like, I don't know. There were some guys who I thought were pretty good. A lot of commentators are just terrible. And the American ones are flat out intolerable to me. Should have let Usyk retire after second Fury fight. But Dom Triple D jumped in the ring, yeah, and then ended up getting smashed. What an embarrassment that was. Nordic, your posts don't show up in the feed. Well, do you know that doesn't surprise me, because my posts are just too controversial. Because I'm just that based, innit? What do you expect? Let's be honest. I am by far the most based individual that has ever like manifested in the YTBC, or who's ever been involved in this community, who has any sort of like presence. Like I still see comments on other people. Like let's be honest, I left the boxing community a long time ago. I'm barely involved with it anymore. I still see comments about me on other people's videos, getting pissed off and triggered. What was it? Oh, okay. I still see comments about me getting pissed off and triggered, and calling me all sorts. And it's like I haven't even spoke to some of these people in years. It's funny, man. Again, that's what happens when you've got charisma in it, and when you make an impact. So good. Nordic, when you were unemployed, did Boomer say it's your fault? No, well, yeah, Boomer said it was my fault. I'm lazy. I don't want to work. It wasn't that I didn't want to work. It was that I was just pissed off and going through shit. I was going through mental issues. That's why I didn't. That's why I couldn't really hold down a job. I couldn't. I tell you what it was. One of the biggest issues I had, as far as like work is involved, is a problem with authority. I couldn't handle being told what to do, and I couldn't handle like when I speak my mind and I say things, and people get offended, and I getting accused of being too offensive and being rude and stuff like that, when I'm not generally a rude person. Like when I talk to people, I'm not disrespectful. I don't put them down. I don't like kick them while they're down and stuff like that. But I speak my mind, and if somebody like accuses me of something, I'll stand up for myself. I'll justify the things I do and the things I say. And when you work in like corporate jobs, like when you work in like warehousing, and when you work in call centers and stuff like that, that kind of personality isn't allowed. They want you to be an NPC. They want you to be a drone who does as you're told and thinks the way that you're supposed to think and stuff like it just drove me crazy. Like one of the last jobs I had before I had that hiatus, I worked in a call center, and it was just constant liberal brainwashing. This is part of the reason I became such an edgelord, and part of the reason I became so red pilled was because I was kind of brought up in like a very, very colloquial, non-politically correct setting. That was my friend group. We're all kind of edgy 90s kids, right? And then being thrown into that environment where it's you either conform or you starve, right? You conform to our standard, or you don't get paid. You affirm LGBT, and you affirm critical race theory, and you admit that you're inherently evil and stuff like that. You just conform to all that nonsense that has nothing to do with the job you're supposed to be doing. and if you don't do it, you get brainwashed and re-educated and stuff. It kind of drove me crazy, and I know other people from my generation who left the workforce entirely and basically just stopped working and were too anxious to work and couldn't get a job that paid well enough to earn a living and support a family and stuff like that. So I kind of just turned my back on it. I'm like, I don't want to work. I can't handle it anymore. Like I'd rather die. That was literally the mindset I had. And because I'm quite good at saving money, so I had a lot of money saved up. I was doing okay for a while. Then I found YouTube and was just faffing about with this for a while. I didn't bother. That was why I made so many videos, because I was kind of becoming a neat, but I wasn't entitled to job seekers. I wasn't entitled to any benefits or anything like that. So I had to get a job. I had to go back in the workforce. I was kind of forced into it, but I'm glad that I did, because now I'm basically self-employed. I work if and when I want to work. I have multiple different businesses that want my services. I've got a good reputation in the industry that I work. I've got good contacts and stuff like that. So I've got a very, very good career right now. And although the money isn't great, there's future opportunities, and I don't have to deal with corporate shit. Like the stuff I have to deal with is stuff that I can deal with it my way, if that makes sense. I can deal with it in a way that works for me and is good for my mental health and that, because I'm a fighter. That's who I've always been. Rather than sitting in an office and being nagged by some like fat bitch about political correctness and stuff like that, I can physically deal with problems and not get not lose my job for it and stuff. You know, if that makes sense. um, Wardley in Wembley and Caballel in Germany. Yeah, that's those fights would make financial sense in those locations, and Usyk's fine with traveling. Or you could have it in Poland if Usyk wants semi home advantage. There are generations of people on sick money. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I know boomers lived almost their entire life on benefits, and they don't need those benefits. They're not disabled or anything, but they get them somehow. You know. Young people have it very hard, unfortunately. They do. I would hate to be a young guy now starting out, because the world is honestly like atrocious right now. It is. There's nothing for young people to live for, and they've got no chance of making their fortune. Like the whole American dream. I know that's kind of a meme, but the American dream doesn't exist anymore for anybody. Certainly not anybody in the West. Not unless you're a scammer or a criminal, and that in itself comes with its own obvious risks, doesn't it? Those guys are the future. Yeah, the future for a while. But they're all getting on a bit, aren't they? Except for a Talma. There is no jobs for anything, and everyone asks for experience with these BS qualifications. No jobs for experience. Even if you have those, they will give it to some bum who knows people in the company. Yeah, it's like that old saying. It's not what you know, it's who you know. If you know people in the industry, nepotism, that can get you a job. Now, that's why I'm quite happy with the job that I have now and the career I have now. I earned it myself. I paid for it myself. I studied for it myself. Like I've never studied for a thing in my life, but for the license that I have now and the job that I have now, I studied and I paid a lot of money for it that I'd saved up myself, and I've earned the reputation that I've got by working hard and by putting myself out there and accepting jobs that other people weren't willing to accept and stuff like that. So I'm quite happy with my career right now. I genuinely am quite happy with it, and I've never thought that before. Not before this. AJ basically got grandfathered into the level he's at the sport. From what I learned about him, he's definitely connected into a secret society and was a thug. Yeah, he was an enforcer, a drug dealer in London. So clearly, the establishment thought we can use this guy. We can make a diverse hero out of him. Kind of like they did with Amir Khan, but much more manufactured than what Khan was. You know, they did the same thing with AJ. Wow, I've got a lot of comments here. Oh, without a doubt, Rico is far, far better than Francis Ngannou. Without a doubt about that. Without a doubt. Francis Ngannou couldn't even punch. He was more of a grabber and a wrestler, but Rico can box. And Rico, again, he's boxed before. He boxed professionally years ago. So it's not like we're taking a guy from like judo or jiu-jitsu who's never boxed and putting him in a boxing ring. No, this is a world-class kickboxer and a guy who has boxed professionally before, you know. Degenerate thug. Yeah, AJ's a degenerate thug. Yeah, Rico would beat Wilder. I've no doubt about that right now. He'd beat Wilder. Maybe even Wilder in his prime, actually, you know. I've heard numerous rumors about Joshua previous thug background. Well, I mean, Joshua has a conviction for drug dealing. I don't know if it was anything totally serious. I don't know if it was class A's, but it was probably just weed or something. But he was a drug dealer, you know. I've never watched the Boys TV show, but I have heard that it's similar in a way to Watchmen. It's supposed to be like a parody of like conservative superheroes. Like the main villain of the show is like a parody of Trump, but ironically, he's the most popular character. People like him, and that's a common thing. And I was going to make a video about that some time ago. I might still make it about how when the left try to parody us, when they try to make right wing characters and caricatures of right wing people and deconstructions, that's what they call them, deconstructions. Those deconstructions end up becoming deeply popular with young people, and people end up sympathizing with them. Again, a great example of that is somebody like Anakin Skywalker, right? Or somebody like Rorschach. These guys are supposed to be like, fascists. They're supposed to be like a deconstruction of the edgy 90s millennial right wing extremists, right? That ironically enough, before those types of people even existed, right? Which makes you wonder, doesn't it, where the concept came from? But these people get ironically adopted by people like us as our role models. Another example of that's like somebody like Severus Snape, right? He's supposed to be the base dwelling, friend zoned edge lord in school, right? Who joined a neo fascist organization to get back at the people who bullied him. Again, clearly a deconstruction, but he was unironically or ironically, depending on who you ask, he became the most popular character and the most sympathetic character because he was realistic and he was understandable and relatable to a lot of people in my generation. It's interesting. What's going on UK with the immigration crisis? Well, Rupert Lowe um, plans to deport every single illegal criminal if he gets elected, which he won't. He won't get elected, but it's a nice little pipe dream to have, I guess, isn't it? Nice little pipe dream. Yeah, how's it going, man? Good to see you. When Fury fought Chisora, he wasn't a solid contender. When Fury fought Ngannou, it was kind of a joke fight. Yeah, it was considered that. And I still hold to this day that Fury carried Ngannou. That was a fixed fight. In my opinion, he could have taken him out in the first round, as far as I'm concerned. Jamie TKV got to be the worst British champion. Who's that? Who's Jamie TKV? Double Lord. I don't know who that is, I'll be honest. Yeah, I've still not seen them, but I'm going to. I agree. To me, that's not a hot take at all. Diaz Malignaggi was not a robbery. I agree. I thought perfectly fair decision. I mean, it was a close fight, like 7-5 either way. I thought Diaz was a fair winner in that fight. Like Juan Diaz was an interesting fighter because he had a lot of close fights that people often debated about who won. And like for example, when he had that win against Michael Katsidis, he won the fight by split decision. I personally thought it was a fair decision, but people were saying it was far too wide. It was far too close on the scores, and it shouldn't have been a split. I disagree with that because I actually think it could have gone either way, but I do think Diaz won. And I feel the same about the Malignaggi fight. I think Diaz just scraped by with a close, fair win, as far as I'm concerned. Malignaggi won the rematch, clearly, But the first fight was a fair win for Diaz in a close one, you know. Regis was clearly injured, still messed nepotism, boys face up, yeah. And it just goes to show you, Regis anywhere near his prime would have probably destroyed Conor Benn. I think he would have probably knocked him out, if truth be told. I genuinely do. Wilder's defense was absolute dog shit against Chisora. AJ will spark him. I've always favoured AJ to knock out Wilder. It just depends if AJ actually wants it. Leonard versus Duran, Leonard versus Hagler were close fights, but not robberies. I agree. Close fights, not robberies. How's it going, Hawker? Good to see you, man. Redditors in the USA worship Europe. They think you guys have excellent healthcare and can easily pay for all you need. Yeah. Like you get these clowns who say, "Oh, Sweden has a great healthcare system." Have you ever met a Swede in your life and have you talked to them about their healthcare system and the waiting lists that they have? Like seriously, have you ever met a British person or anybody who lives in any country that has European style socialist healthcare? Have you ever seen like the waiting lists? And have you seen the damage done to these healthcare systems and how much pressure they're under and how much tax constantly gets pummeled into them for no return and how much of a strain the immigration crisis puts on them? And then tell me that America has the worst healthcare. Bullshit. See if you want to have a heart attack anywhere in the world, America's the place you want to have it as long as you can afford to have it fixed, you know, because here in the UK you're screwed basically unless you just happen to be very, very lucky to get yourself an NHS appointment. And it's funny because people act as if like people here don't pay anything for healthcare. What do you think we pay tax for? We pay tax for healthcare, regardless of whether or not we need it, and we still end up on a waiting list. And we still end up like if you go to A&E in this country, you could be waiting hours to see somebody, and in that time, it might get considerably worse. And by the time you get seen, it might be too late. If you need dental care in this country, so again, right now, my filling here, see it? I've got a half a tooth snapped because I was eating a rib and I snapped a tooth up here. And you can see the black bit, that's my filling. It's one of them like metal fillings, so it's like dark. So it's not rotten, by the way. It's black because that's the color of the filling. Because I got that filling done years ago, and it was all black because it was an NHS appointment, so they didn't give me the white fillings. Basically, my tooth snapped, right? So the tooth's still there, but a part of it at the front came off. So I went to the dentist just to see what could be done about it. Paid for it myself. Paid for the appointment. My teeth are in relatively good health. I don't really have bad teeth or anything. And the dentist said to me, that one tooth, to do a root treatment, to remove the filling and replace it and put in a crown, like so where the bit of the tooth that snapped off, just to put a white crown there, it's going to cost me £1,300. £1,300 to get a filling removed, treat the root, and then put a crown. So a crown is just like half a tooth, or not even that, like a little bit of half a tooth, a white one, where the bit that snapped used to be. That's going to cost me £1,300. But we've got great healthcare in this country. Socialist healthcare is fantastic, and America should have it too. Ridiculous. Like you literally can't even get like even if I was on benefits, right? That particular dentist, a dentist that's any good, will still charge you money. Like unless you want to go to one of them crappy booper dentists, which like it'll be some woman. Never go to a woman dentist, by the way, ever. They'll rip your teeth out without even numbing it properly, and it'll be like a massacre. You'll look like you've been in a car crash or something. It's yeah, and it'll probably be some immigrant too who doesn't have a clue what she's doing. I don't like the Mexican fan base in boxing who shits on you after losing one, as if most fighters in history don't taste the feel. I just find those guys funny. Now, Viva Mexico, Canelo. Those guys are just like hilarious, and yeah, they're idiots. A lot of them, you know. Viva Mexico. And as if most Mexico, because there's that many fighters in Mexico, and don't get me wrong, there's some really good ones, some great ones, as if 90% of them are not complete shit. Like, as if 90% of Mexican boxers are not like absolute like low level journeymen who get knocked out in nearly every fight. Those guys have got like some sort of inferior or superiority complex, and I don't know where it comes from. I really don't. We've got life fatigue. We've got everything fatigue, haven't we? Yeah, Fury clout chases all the time with like, and then goes back on negotiations. It's what he's known as. I can't wait for Giasov the Uzbek versus Jack Catterall. Are they fighting? Yeah, that'll be a snooze fest, probably, to be honest. I did rewatch a lot of fights, and even though they weren't exactly robberies, some questionable decisions. Lomachenko beat Haney 7-5. Yeah, 7-5 Loma Haney's about right, Haven't watched Catterall since he moved to welterweight. No, me neither. I've not watched him in ages. Don't rate him, to be honest. The ref for Fury fight was the same as Chisora Wilder. Yeah, his refereeing was okay last night. Something not right. Well, that's because Chisora was probably the A side, so he was allowed to do what he wanted. Although, ironically enough, he didn't get the decision. I won a little bit of money off that. I stuck a fiver on Wilder, and I won £13 something. So it was like a £8 profit or something. Nothing major. Just it was a little punt, Interesting because there was less dirty, but bear wrestling. Look, when you get big guys in the ring, they're always going to wrestle. Fury being gay again, doing poses to Makhmudov, yeah. Yeah, that's disturbing. Yeah, how's it going, Daz? Good to see you, man. Chisora's corner got him disqualified. Yeah, because were they like jumping onto the ring and like banging the mat and all that? Because a B side would be disqualified for that. It doesn't happen to A sides though. All boxers have to do is stay out of the USA to avoid getting robbed. Guys like Kovalev, Lomachenko, Pacquiao, Isaac Cruz don't get face shakes. Well, again, none of those guys would have ever lost if they fought all their fights at home. But Americans always get credit for fighting abroad. Those guys don't, for whatever reason, I have millennial fatigue, yeah. I have every generation fatigue, especially boomers, though. They're the worst. Shut up, phone. Ever since Benavidez moved to 175, people say he isn't the same. Makes you wonder at cruiser. Well, Benavidez is fighting Ramirez, and Benavidez is a big favorite. Last I checked for that fight, so like I would have thought Ramirez was the better fighter, but I've got a feeling that that's just going to be a setup for Ben. Like the odds tell me that that's a setup for Benavidez to win. Even though I don't think he's as good a fighter as Ramirez, I have Normie fatigue. Yeah. Wilder and Chisora was a curious hug fest, nearly as bad as Skelton versus Sprott all them years ago. Yeah, that was bad. Skelton actually had a lot of good fights, but yeah, that wasn't one of them. Have you ever seen a good Skelton fight? Check out his fight with Ruslan Chagayev. That was a really good fight back in the day. Close too. Joshua bottled it last night. Just once completely shot Wilder. Well, I mean, they've been talking about Joshua Wilder for years and years, haven't they? So, and Joshua Fury. So, either one of those fights would have even though they're past their sell-by date, they have a bit of nostalgia to them, don't they? Does Zerdo have a chance? Yeah, definitely has a chance. I think he's the better fighter, but I don't think he'll win because again, I feel like it's just the establishment has more plans for Benavidez. That's what I honestly think going into that fight. Wow, there's a lot of comments here. I'm losing my place. Yeah, I'm not a hardcore boxing fan anymore. Haven't been for the past 10 years or so, to be honest. I'm a casual. I'm a filthy casual, I am brute fatigue. Not a chance. Not a chance. No way. Wilder Chisora fight was shockingly bad, yeah. Yeah, it was kind of a rubbish fight, wasn't it? Why is Max Kellerman not capable of scoring a boxing match? Because he's just a liar and a cook. That's why we call him Max Cookerman. I just pulled a muscle in my leg. I started doing squats again the other day, and my legs are very stiff. Um, some people have Marquez winning the second, third fights. No, I had Pacquiao winning all three of them. I thought he won one. The first fight was the most clear win for Pacquiao. The third fight was more clear than the second. The second fight, in my opinion, is the closest. What got Manny the decision for me was the knockdown. I think the knockdown actually separated them for me on the score. Like, so it would have been a draw if not for the knockdown. I think. Yeah, if they know the Bible, they can't lie. Jamie TKV was pathetic last night against Reactpor. I don't even know who that is. Spoiling and everything. Best not to see that guy again. Reactpor does have quite a heavy right hand. Oh, my leg is sore. Does have quite a heavy right hand. It'd be good to see him against Big D. Yeah, against Dubois. Hey, I got laid off in February. Oh, sorry about that. Not been so well. Take some time off. 25 years of continuous work. Yeah, you've earned it. Then you've earned a rest, because that's quite a sentence, isn't it? 25 years doing the same job. I red pilled Nordic. Yeah. Oh yeah. You red pilled me, Hawker. You were the guy who made me what I am to this day, I guess. Well, you were one of them anyway. You know. Human resources is basically just women. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Human resources is some fat bitch, probably a lesbian, bringing you into an office and saying what you said was not politically correct by the standard of the year 2015 and onwards. So you're going to have to undergo sensitivity training, and you're going to have to learn how to be a good NPC. And I'm just like, go away, you fat whore, and leave me alone. Or at least I would if I wasn't scared of getting sacked. And then I end up quitting anyway. My manager accused me of not working hard enough at physical labor. Mind you, she blatantly lied. It's a she. There's the culprit. That's the problem right there. It's a female manager. She blatantly lied and claimed I didn't do the numbers I did. She's a complete bitch. Yeah, she sounds it. Sounds it. She should go to the kitchen and make you a sandwich and apologize. Bitch. Even based Pete has lost all its meaning. So based people are stupid. I like saying based because it just sounds funny because it doesn't mean anything, but it's one of them things that triggers people when you say it. It's like if someone gives me like an iron brew or something, I'll be like based, and I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm just like, I don't know. It just sounds funny. I have to go back and rescore some of these fights, make a good decision about it. Yeah, in Germany. Yeah, you can't get a decision in Germany. You got to knock them out to get a draw in Germany. Some Gen X might as well be boomer. Women said to her son, "You should start a business." Never did it. Listen, my mom tells me all the time. Even now, I'm 32 years old, and she still tells me this shit. She tells me I should go to university. I should go to college. Why? Why should I go to college? What possible? I literally work as a bouncer, and I've had like every like normie like NPC job you could think of. And again, I'm in my 30s. I'm practically brain damaged at this point. You know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. What on earth could I possibly learn in college? I'm not going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a scientist. I'm not going to do that, am I, at this age? And even if I did, my heart wouldn't be in it. And she knows, and this is why I don't understand. This is boomer shit, right? My mum's not a boomer; she's Gen X, right? But it's that mentality. I have cousins, family members who went to university, studied for like 4 or 5 years, spent money, spent a lot of time, worked a part-time job during it, got a degree, and then ended up working in McDonald's. And some of them don't even they don't even earn as much money as I do. Working a minimum wage job on the doors. Like literally, you could spend 4 or 5 years of your life getting yourself a degree, and then once that degree is over, you end up full time at McDonald's, unable to get a high paid job. That's literally what happens. College is a total scam unless you have a specific career in mind that you know you can accomplish. There's no point going to college. Just get a job and earn money and save it up as much as you can. and then have kids and all that. That's what you should do. They call it the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. Yeah. Yeah, because it's exactly that. It's a dream. It's a pipe dream. It ain't gonna happen. At least not in this day and age, you know? In the 90s, a lot of people were moved off the dole onto sickness to get official figures down. About 2 million of them was a massive scam to keep the figures down. Yeah. And a lot of those people were boomers who to this day still live on the dole and tell us that we don't want to work and we're lazy, you know? Believe it or not, I'm actually making less at my warehouse job than I was collecting unemployment. After that, take out income tax, insurance, social security, and child support I pay, I'm cooked, yeah. All of that stuff shouldn't even exist. Social security, income tax, child support, the bedroom tax, and all that rubbish they have. It shouldn't exist, you know? It's a total scam. It's theft as far as I'm concerned, you know? I mean, no wonder we can't afford to pay like 10% of our wages to charity, like what it says in the Bible, because they already take more than that in tax. And I know a lot of that tax goes to charity, right? Which is fair enough, but most of it just goes to the government to fund whatever, you know? Trying to make money with delivery driving here and there, but making video edits for people, it's a process, yeah. You gotta grind, aren't you? You just gotta do what you gotta do, whatever makes you money, you know, without doing anything immoral, you know. Where was I? Yeah, I'm trying to do a sad story here, but I feel like I'm 21 years old. I genuinely feel like there's no hope in the UK. Government don't care about young men. Government have never cared about young men, and that's why you have to care about yourself. Again, a young guy like you, 21 years old, nobody's gonna save you. Nobody's gonna pay your bills for you. Nobody's gonna give you a house. Like the boomers sold you out, just like they sold me out. I mean, I was in the same situation as you at that age, and I had no idea what to do. Right? Nobody's going to save you. What you need is get a job that's not too taxing, that doesn't destroy your mental health, a job that you can do, that you can afford to live on. Don't waste your money on drugs and alcohol. You know, don't waste it doing stupid things, buying things you don't need. You know, minimalize. That's the term people use now. It's popular. Minimalize, right? Only buy what you need and save up and look after yourself, right? Because no one else is going to do it for you. That's unfortunately the situation you've been put in, and just don't be scammed. Don't let anybody scam you. You know, Amir Khan had a fair bit of natural talent. Yeah, and he was a good amateur too. Khan was a better amateur than AJ was. Even though AJ was a gold medalist, Khan had like a legitimate, like long time amateur career before he won his silver medal. You know, Ngannou but he was manufactured largely. You know, Ngannou was known for his knockouts in UFC. He wasn't much of a grappler. He stuffed Stipe's takedowns in the rematch. He wrestled Gain. That was about it. Yeah, but again, he was manufactured, in my opinion, in MMA. You know, let's say Rico goes into UFC. Can he be? Oh yeah, I would pick Rico over Aspinall. I think Rico would knock him out. I genuinely do. As long as he's like close to his prime, he might be on his way out now. But I would pick Rico to knock him out in UFC. I genuinely would. He's a better striker by far, and he's tougher in my opinion. Who do you think's the greatest fighter of all time? Probably Manny Pacquiao as the greatest fighter of all time. He definitely has the best resume and one of the best skill sets. The greatest defensive boxer. So just ignoring everything else and looking at defense entirely. Somebody like Sven Otke, maybe. He might be the best defensive fighter. Pernell Whitaker was very defensive. He was very difficult to hit. Not a great fighter, in my opinion. Very flawed. Offensively, very tame, but very hard to hit. Very, very difficult to hit. So you could put him up there too. There's a lot of guys who were difficult to hit. You know, I see Vladimir Klitschko was one of the best defensive fighters ever. Very difficult to get by his defense, and his offense was his defense, which made him so much more dangerous. Because if you couldn't get by his jab, you couldn't beat him. You couldn't touch him, really. You know, AJ was done for possession with intent to supply. Could hypothetically have gone to jail. Eddie gave a character reference in court. Yeah, maybe that was what got him off then, and they offered him a deal to be their new Rob McCracken might have helped him to be their new poster boy for diversity. Shout out to Del Boy, how you doing? Diaz was fun to watch. His fights with Marquez were great. Yeah, they were brutal as well, and he was never the same after that. See, after those two fights with Marquez, Diaz took so much punishment in them fights, he never recovered. He was never the same again. He was basically a journeyman from that point on, but they were great fights. Yeah, how's it going, Patriot? God bless you, mate. I love the name, by the way, and the profile picture. Those are great. Redditors in the USA are boomers for sure with that mentality. Oh, a lot of boomers on Reddit and a lot of bots on Reddit too. Not only that, a lot of these Palestine protesters are boomers as well. And I think a lot of those guys are government plants. Like, did you guys see my community post? I put up a community post earlier today because I was watching one of Charlie Veach's videos in Edinburgh where he was covering one of those protests. It was a pro-Palestine protest, and everybody there was a boomer. It was all these random old, like ugly, like stinking boomers. Like they like he was saying like just the stench where these people was that horrible. It seemed like they never washed, and they just looked vile and filthy. And but one of them, who seemed to be like the handler, he was like standing in the background. So they had some like Muslim chick with a hijab giving the speech up on stage, and what one of the boomers who was like overseeing it all, like handing out flyers and all that, Charlie Veach said to him, "Yeah, he said something about you support Hamas killing the Jews," and he went, and the guy went like this. He did nobody else in the comment section noticed it. I was the only one who noticed it. He did the "my heart goes out to you" symbol, and I was like, that guy, clearly that guy is some sort of plant, right? Some sort of agent who's been tasked to do that, and he's kind of dog whistling. He's kind of dog whistling to the people watching what's really going on. Again, this new deception. I call it a deception. It's kind of an awakening that's going on. People calling it becoming J pill. That's what a lot of you guys would probably call it. It ties in with Revelations, and it ties in with the coming of Christ, like the second coming of Christ, should I say, and how God Himself, the God of the Bible, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right, the triune God of the Holy Bible, selected Mount Zion and the land that we now call Israel, right? That particular plot of land in the Middle East, He selected that to be the seat of His kingdom on earth in His return. So, kind of for many, many years, it's been suppressed. Talking about like the synagogue of Satan, talking about Zionism and all that stuff. It's been suppressed for a long time. Now it's no longer being suppressed. Now you can't escape it. It's everywhere, and you've got people with CIA connections, right? People like Tucker Carlson and the likes. Bringing all this, bringing up 9/11 conspiracy theories and all that good stuff. Bringing up Bibi Netanyahu's past comments and his connections to false flags, and really, really pushing for Islam, right? That you know how Islam has always been used as a golem for communism and for various regime changes around the world. They flood countries with Muslims, radicalize them, stir up all this hatred, stir up all this war, and then eventually, either communism or some aspect of it takes over, right? That's kind of what happens, right? So these guys are now really, really heavily pushing Palestine. They're heavily getting behind organizations like Hamas and trying to legitimize them, right? So they're trying to legitimize the Islamic Caliphate, right? And it's becoming socially acceptable, and this is manufactured, in my opinion. It's becoming socially acceptable to criticize Jews and to hate Jews. And again, they're getting kind of the normie, recently red pilled right wingers. So people who are starting to, noticing, that's the term they're using, right? So people who are noticing what's going on in the world, they're noticing all the deceptions and the cover ups of the pro Zionist side, right? and they're manufacturing this hatred against Jews, right? So Jews are becoming public enemy number one for basically everybody on every side. That the left are starting to hate them, the right are starting to hate them, the reactionaries are starting to hate them, the more traditional conservatives are starting to turn on them. Everybody's turning on Jews now, and this is falling in line with Scripture. It's falling in line with Revelations. Revelations talks about how there'll be this massive deception and how many people will put themselves in opposition with God, and it'll be through the Antichrist, right? It'll be through deception. And I believe personally, a lot of this pro-Palestine, because again, you see these boomers, these like random homeless-looking boomers showing up to these random protests, and what is it they're advocating? What exactly are they advocating for? They're advocating for the extermination of Jews. That's what these people want. They don't care about Palestinians. Why are they standing in the streets of Edinburgh protesting Palestine? Why are they standing in the streets of Edinburgh flying that flag? What do they gain from it? These people aren't Muslims. These people aren't part of the Islamic Caliphate. And if they were, they wouldn't be in Edinburgh. They would be over in the Middle East fighting and dying in the name of Allah, wouldn't they? What is their end game? Their end game, in my opinion, is to bring about revelations. It's to bring about the end times, right? And it's part of the beast system that's being set up, in my opinion. And again, it now becoming socially acceptable to not only criticize Jews, but to basically put yourself in opposition with God and God's quote unquote chosen people. It's very, very high level deception, in my opinion. But I thought it was worth pointing out. Um, I don't know. It's very, very interesting to me. It's a crazy time to be alive, isn't it? It really is. Turkey was wearing a Barber jacket over that dress thing last night, was he? No, I didn't see that. That's quite funny. Socialized healthcare eventually becomes a Ponzi scheme. Well, works well for 5 to 10 years, then kaboom at the first hint of demographic pressure. Yep. And we're basically paying to keep the boomers alive. Like one of the funniest memes I ever saw, that this really made me laugh. It was boomers. Gen Z can't survive without technology. Also boomers. And it shows them on like a life support system. I thought that was really funny. That was brilliant. In the UK, you have to wait 24 hours for an ambulance unless you're part of the chosen people. You get your own yeah, the chosen people have got their own like healthcare service and their own ambulance system. Hey, they'll need it. They'll need it, won't they? In the coming, with the rise of Islam. Give it a watch if you can, because I like hearing your insights on movies. Yeah, it mocks the right and basically demonizes them, just false propaganda. But again, most of the people who watch it are like like most of the people who watch it actually sympathize with the right wing characters and actually like them, you know? Why do Gen Xers and boomers hate Gen Z so much? These guys had so many advantages that Gen Z didn't have. They hate us because they ain't us, because they're about to die and they don't see any way out. They don't see any way to get saved. But the answer was right in front of them all along in the King James Bible. They just have to read it. You see Project Hail Mary. I thought it was a good. No, I never heard of it. Never heard of it. I might check it out. Yeah, I think he can, but I don't think he will because I think it's staged. Personally, I think Zerdo can win, but I think it'll be fixed for Benavides. Well, Gen X got screwed first by the boomers, and mentality was shaped by them, but they still had a better future. Generations, Gen X is the second most wealthy. Yeah, they didn't have it as hard as we had it, and we didn't have it as hard as the Zoomers have it. You know, I pay so little attention to boxing. I didn't even know Tyson was fighting until a few days ago. Yeah, like the Chisora Wilder fight after that happened. I didn't even realize it was happening that night. I thought it was like weeks away, and then I ended up missing it. Benavides looked pretty good skill wise against Morel, but his power hasn't been good since moving 75. Cruiserweight power will decrease more. Yeah, true. But I still think it's a setup fight. The boomers Gen X were guaranteed something that even if they worked hard, if they didn't have to. Nowadays, that does not work. Yeah, look, working hard doesn't get you anything now. It's all about who you know and having a certain amount of luck. You're right about that. Imagine if Gen Z had the economy Gen X and Boomers had. Yeah. Again, it's like Gen Z think now the best way to make money is to go on OnlyFans. That's what a lot of Gen X women think now. Because what else can they do? You know, I can say this now. The ex HR director at my old place was like a Scooby Doo villain, a complete psycho, and a cyber stalker to boot. Glad I got out with it. That's one thing I hate about a lot of companies spy on their employees by going on their social media, like their Facebook pages and that, and sacking them for making edgy jokes and all that, which is a human rights violation as far as I'm concerned. Oh, you're referring to David Adelaide? Yeah, that'd be a good fight. Why not, eh? Oh, Jamie TKV he's the guy that beat Clark by split decision. I didn't realize. I thought Fury looked fine against Makhmudov, as he usually does, and had a gas tank video. Yeah, Fury's gas tank is good. He could even out of shape without a training camp, he can go 12 rounds. That's one thing that's always fascinated me about Fury. I'll just go to the toilet. 1 minute. I'll be back. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honey looked good against Clark last night, shot boxer. Honey's a very good technical boxer. Um, he's not very tough though, and that knockout against what's his face, um, Wardley is concerning because it didn't even look like that punch landed cleanly. Maybe it was a dive, I don't know, but it has raised questions about Honey's chin and his heart. You know. Um, Universities are just frog spawn for wokery and bullshit. Half of them need to be shut down and get to academic rigor. Mate, every university student I meet is like a total twink. Every single one of them's a twink. And even if you ask them about the thing that they're studying, they don't really know about it. Because let's say if you're an economics student, you're not learning economics, you're learning about LGBT and you're learning about Palestine and all that. That's what you're learning about in an economics class. If you're in an engineering class, you should be learning about engineering. You shouldn't be learning about communism and Marxism. I was at a university recently, right? I'm not going to tell you guys why, but I was at a university and this guy showed up and he was like, he was asking about the Marxist society. Like someplace upstairs was apparently there was a Marxist society in a university campus, and I just wanted to bitch slap him. It was like some twink, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I'm like, well, this guy's probably studying like law or something, and he's learning about, and he's part of a Marxist society. They actually openly call themselves a Marxist society, and you see the bloody communists, like the communist boomers, handing out flyers in the middle of the street. I even seen one of them had a hat with like a Venezuela flag on it. I'm like, can these people please just die and stop destroying the country any more than they already have? Gen X should just be boomers as well. A university degree should only be for specialized courses like medicine, engineering, lawyer. Even some of those have apprentices. Yeah, some of those you can do without actually getting a degree. Like if you know the right people and you can get the right apprenticeship, But a lot of people are shamed into going to college because it's like if you don't go to college, you ain't educated and shit. You're a dumbass and all that. Whereas I think that mentality, thanks to guys like Charlie Kirk educating people, that kind of mentality is going away. Thankfully, about time. Higher education is a total scam. Schooling in general is a scam. It's basically daycare because the man and the woman were forced into the workforce. So, and if you're a single parent, who's going to watch your kids while you're grinding? That's what school is. It's basically daycare. It shouldn't exist as far as I'm concerned. Most courses don't need uni training. There should be apprenticeships, and nothing is done about the lack of experienced jobs. Well, why can't schools, if schools wanted to serve a particular function, why can't it all be about work experience? Why can't you be taught how to build, taught how to cook, taught how to do the washing, like to do laundry, taught how to prepare meals and stuff like that, taught how to fix cars, taught how to maybe do bricklaying, just taught how to use tools, taught how to do DIY. Why can't you be taught all that stuff in school instead of all the bollocks that they teach you, which has nothing to do with anything in real life? I just don't understand it. Obviously, teach people to read and write and all that, like that's and basic maths, but like you get what I'm saying. Recently, United States raised the military enlistment age to 42. Back when I was in the Air Force, you had to be 18 to 25 years old to enlist. Most of these guys retired at 40. Yeah, the retirement age always goes up, doesn't it? For everything. I didn't know you were in the Air Force, Hawker. That's pretty badass. Did you ever see combat? Did you actually like go out and on tour? That's quite badass. I'd like to hear more about that, if truth be told. The word revenue came from Norman conquest. Revenue actually means plunder. Well, there you go. So it's like a pirate thing, isn't it? It's our plunder being taken off of us by the government. The government's run like a mafia, isn't it? If you don't pay, they'll take all your assets at the tip of a gun, won't they? They'll force you into a certain career if they could. Yeah, they'd force us all into a factory or a call center if they could. Would you react to a 7-minute video on stream for money? What's the 7-minute video and how much money? Just cancelled my date with Piers' wife to watch you stream. Did you see that other guy who was on Piers' broadcast, and he pulled up Piers rage quit the broadcast because the guy pulled up the picture of Piers' wife on Twitter, and he was like, "Oh, that's your girl," and then Piers went, "I don't want to do this anymore," and he just stormed off of his own show. That was funny. And the guy was like cocked. That was brilliant. Yes, great shout, Del Boy. Winky Wright had great defense. Winky Wright had one of the best high guards I've ever seen in boxing. He was so difficult to hit. Very, very underrated defensive fighter for sure. Yeah, Piers has arranged another date for her. Maybe Chisora. Hmm. If Svenotki had a good offense, he would have been looking at one of the best fighters of his era. Yeah, if his offense was better, if he had more power, and if he was a bit more accurate, like because he had kind of an amateur point scoring style, which ironically enough, he had power. Oki actually could punch. It's just he wasn't a prolific puncher. He wasn't that accurate a puncher. He would kind of flail his arms here and there. Like his technique was good, but it wasn't the best. He could have been a lot better if he'd have like sat down on his punches more. Like imagine if he'd have trained with someone like Manny Stewart and learned how to punch like through the target. He would have been one of the greatest fighters of all time by far. Yeah, he did. I just watched your review for Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, the book. I'm thinking of picking it up next time I go to my local bookstore. I would if I were you. Great book. That's what I've got it over there actually. That's one of my favorite books actually, aside from the Bible itself, Like those boomers care about Arabs when there are problems over here. If those boomers cared about Arabs, they would go over there to Gaza and they would fight the Israelis. But they won't, will they? Because they would die instantly. So all they can do is stand in the street in Edinburgh and shout free Palestine, blah blah blah. That's all they can do. That's them helping. They're like that kid off The Simpsons where he goes, "I helped." That's what they're like. It's like I found it funny though because it's like again those people are just were standing in like near the park in Edinburgh at like some stupid little protest. Literally everybody there was a boomer or that Muslim woman, right? There was only like 30 of them, if even that. And then later in that video, Charlie Veach went over to this place called Oink, right, which is a restaurant that sells pulled pork sandwiches. I've been there several times. It's beautiful, right? Because I've been to Edinburgh a lot. And there was a massive, massive queue of people outside of Oink waiting to get a pulled pork sandwich. And he was like, so clearly the actual people of Edinburgh, they care more about getting a pork sandwich than they do about this bullshit Palestine protest. I thought that was so funny. It goes to show you the real people, like the real citizens from random government plants. Rupert Lowe is the UK's only hope. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Help me, Rupert Lowe. You're my only hope. Well, based, yeah. Yeah. All night, like ironically based. Pernell Whitaker had poetic defense. Shame he had nothing offense-wise at world level. Being slightly better offense, be looking at ultimate. Yeah, he would have been a much better fighter if he could sit down on his punches and could counter more. He was just a bit overly defensive. During World War II, we had hundreds of thousands of refugees from Belgium, genuine refugees. After that, they all went home. Yeah, they went home because they could build up their own country. They didn't stay here and leech off of our system. Did you see Gypsy Crusader versus Super Hot Fire fight? Super entered him. No, I didn't see that. I've heard of Gypsy Crusader. I've not heard of the other guy, though. I'm done with the Jews guys telling me everything is Israel and the Jews. I can't even say one good thing about Israel without being cut on my side. The first time I posted a community post on my channel clarifying, I didn't even like glaze Israel or anything. I wasn't going Shalom Israel or anything like that. I literally just said, I just clarified, I don't hate all Jews. I'm not 100%. I don't want to exterminate the entire Jewish race. And I had people posting like nose emojis and saying, "Show me your nose," and calling me Nordic Jew, Nordic Zio shill, and that's what people were saying. My own audience, my own subscribers were saying this just because I clarified that I don't hate all Jews, and I'm not part of like the the Nazi movement, and I'm the neo-Nazi like Azov battalion types, and I'm not part of the Islamic Caliphate and all that. That somehow means that I'm an undercover Jew or I'm a shill for the state of Israel. Somehow, work that one out. Seriously, I was probably talking about Zionism like 10 years before these guys ever heard the word. I was probably talking about that stuff. And this is what happens. See, this is where the fatigue comes from. See, when you've been involved in conspiracy theories for the vast majority of your adult life, and you finally you search down all these rabbit holes, every single one of them leads back to the same place, and that is the Bible. That is the King James Bible. Everything leads to that. All the answers are in there. Once you read the King James Bible, once you become truly repentant and truly born again, you're given spiritual wisdom and you're able to see the logical and natural conclusions of every single one of these rabbit holes. So when you come across these people who have just discovered this stuff, they've just discovered Zionism, they've just discovered the Islamic Caliphate, they've just discovered the political delicacy of the Islamic world versus the Jewish world, and how it relates back to the days of ancient Babylon or even before. that they come across these complex situations like what's going on with the Eastern Orthodox Church, and the ethnic land disputes in the former Soviet bloc countries, and even places like Armenia and Azerbaijan, and where all this stuff comes from, where it all stems from, the history of those regions, how everything just leads back to the Bible. When these people just discover this stuff, they have a black and white way of thinking. They think you either want to nuke Israel off the face of the map, or you are literally like some evil Zionist, part of the satanic elite. Like you're part of the ADL if you don't want to nuke Israel, kind of thing. Again, I heard this Jewish comedian one time, and he was talking about this. Right, he was talking in one of his stand-ups about when he was a kid, and there was a lot of fear mongering, and he lived in Israel, right, just a citizen, and he was scared that Saddam Hussein was gonna like nuke his house or something, or like fire rockets into his bedroom window and stuff like that. He was saying this as a joke. This is what he used to be scared of when he was a kid, right? Because of all the propaganda and fear mongering, right? And some guy in the crowd, some like Muslim guy, got pissed off and said, "What about Gaza? What about Palestine?" Not understanding the joke. And the Israeli guy, who was the comedian, he says to the guy, he's like, this is the thing about being an Israeli citizen or being an ethnic Jew. Whenever anything happens in the Middle East that has anything to do with Israel, everybody comes to me for a press report. I found that really funny. He's like, I'm just a random guy, like he's just a random Jewish comedian, and he's like, anything happens in Israel, people come to me for a press report, like I was the one behind it, or it's just that's kind of the I call it like normie red pill. When somebody's just when you hear some normie talking about something that you were talking about 10, 15 years ago, like they just discovered it, but they think they know more than you, and that you haven't done like a decade or so of research into the subject, and haven't pondered these things back and forth. That's what it's like. It's like a lot of guys who get involved in the conspiracy world, they start with someone like Alex Jones or the Vigilant Citizen. You guys remember the website, the Vigilant Citizen? I used to read that quite regularly, right? And they start with 9/11 conspiracies. They start with chemtrails and all that good stuff, right? And they learn about all this stuff. They go down all these rabbit holes. They find out about Israel. They look into guys like David Duke, guys like Nick Griffin. Um, they look into the concept of agent provocateurs, and basically the concept of being swindled by certain political influencers and political entities to think a certain way. And eventually it gets to the point where you get fatigued by all that. Like right now, do you remember a few years ago when Epstein, it hit the news that Epstein died in prison, that he killed himself in prison, and everybody was like, bollocks, he didn't kill himself. Obviously, either he's still alive, or he was killed in order to prevent him from exposing certain people, right? Now that's where we all were back then. Nobody in the mainstream, none of the normies even mentioned Epstein. They weren't interested because it wasn't the latest thing. It wasn't well talked about. It wasn't well known about. Even people who had heard of Epstein from back in 2008 from his conviction or before, even a lot of those people weren't really interested because it was a conspiracy theory, a crazy conspiracy theory. We talked about it for a good few years, how there's trafficking involved, there's human gene editing involved, there's AI involved, there's this ranch that has this secret underground facility. There's all this real elaborate stuff involved in the Epstein situation. Eventually, we got tired of talking about it. Now, all of a sudden, this year, everybody's talking about Epstein. You go on Twitter, everybody's posting photos of Trump with Epstein. Everybody's posting photos of Clinton with Epstein. Everybody's saying this guy's a pedophile and that guy's a pedophile and he's a pedo and he's a pedo. And it's like everybody's talking about, all of a sudden, again, 10, 15 years ago, we were talking about Ted Heath being a pedophile. We were talking about, what's his name? Philip Schofield being a paedophile. We were talking about this 10, 15 years ago. And we were talking about islands that were being used to traffic children. We were talking about experiments and organ harvesting and all that conspiracy stuff. Now, all of that stuff has become mainstream and we're sick and tired of it. We talked about this stuff so long ago, back when it was relevant. It hasn't been relevant for a long time. Why should we care about this now? Like, I don't personally give a shit if Donald Trump was friends with Jeffrey Epstein or if he visited his island or what. I don't even care if he had sex with any of Jeffrey Epstein's concubines. I literally don't care about that because right now there's so much more important things going on in the world. There's stuff that's so much that we need to be pragmatic and we need to understand what solutions we have in front of us rather than giving power to the satanic elite by basically when they give us a little bit of information, when they allow something to become mainstream, letting that become the main issue and completely forgetting what needs to be done politically, ignoring all political solutions that are right in front of us. I don't know, man. Just call me a schizo if you want. It's like I'm fatigued by the whole thing. I'm fatigued by conspiracy theories because the conspiracy theories require you to completely ignore scripture and completely ignore revelations and have a savior complex. Again, I've talked about that before, The whole anti-Jewish propaganda being a trend is a mastermind plan by the satanic elites to get people to, as well as Christians, to hate God's chosen people. Absolutely. Because guys a lot of again, people that follow Nick Fuentes, right, the Groypers, these people genuinely think that all Jews are like the spawn of Satan. That's what these people think. And that's not true. Okay, just because the state of Israel is run by people who you would consider psychopaths, that does not mean that revelations are not real. It doesn't mean that we are the body of Christ and the real biblical Israel are the same thing. They're not. Okay, scripture does not claim that. Okay, like I said earlier in the stream, Mount Zion and the land that we now call Israel, that land, that portion of the Middle East was ordained by God. It's the seat of God's kingdom. That's why it has been disputed territory for the past 2,000 years or longer. Okay, that is why nobody has been able to fully conquer that land. That is why God's chosen people, despite many, many attempts over the generations to exterminate them, that's why they still exist to this day. That's why we're having this conversation, because revelations haven't been finished yet. Okay, they've been revealed to us, but they haven't taken place, or at least they're not in their final stages, Not the monolith people they think they are. Some Jews had nothing to do with it and don't support. There are a lot of Jews that don't support Israel. A lot of Jews and do not support Zionism. Okay, and a lot of them are sympathetic to the cause of Christianity. There are many Messianic Jews, even in the state of Israel. There are many Christians, okay, who are doing great things, by the way. But let's worry about the Iranian leaders. Let's worry about them, shall we? The chosen people existed ages ago. Yeah, and they still exist to this day. Every tribe deserves to be criticized. Some tribes deserve more criticism. Absolutely. Again, there are good people in every single culture. There are bad people in every single culture. Every single faction has their own sub factions, if that makes sense. It's not as black and white as people make it out to be. Yeah, well, what anti-Semitism, what it does is it creates a victim complex, and it gives these people the ability to portray themselves as victims, if that makes sense. Which again makes a lot of people sympathetic to their cause and turn a blind eye to the bad things that they do. Remember, guys, it's racist to have a brain. Yeah, it's racist to think or to notice. Yeah, Floyd Mayweather ducked Winky Wright because he would have gotten his arse kicked in that fight. Winky Wright, I said that back then. Winky Wright would have won that. Aren't certain parts of the ESV Bible closer to the Hebrew meaning? Well, based on the research I've done, the most credible Bible scholars, at least the most credible Bible scholars in the English-speaking world in Britain, were behind the translation of the King James Bible, because King James brought together all of the denominations of Christianity in England at the time, and they spent 7 years creating what is generally today believed to be the most authentic translation of those original Hebrew scriptures. So I generally go by the King James Bible, but I'm not one of these King James Bible purists. I don't believe you have to read only the King James Bible, because there are other versions of the Bible which are the same message, really, but just a little bit more simplified for people to understand. Because the thing about the King James Bible is it's written in old, like very, very old formal English. So sometimes it's difficult to wrap your head around for a modern day English speaker. So there are other versions of it which are easier to read, but I generally stick with the King James Bible because, again, from the research I've done, it's the most authentic translation of the original Hebrew scriptures. Ever heard of any of the Marian appropriate apparitions? Yeah, I have. I will get back to you on that one though, because it's complicated. Wait, where was I? I didn't know Chizorafoot Wilder until I came on this. Did you not know that? Yeah. Well, again, we don't really focus on it, do we? 10 to 14% of Gen Z women in America have OnlyFans. To be honest, that's lower than I thought. Yeah, I thought so too. OnlyFans, horrible. Did you hear the creator of OnlyFans died? And I seen that guy, Jack Pasabic on Twitter. He posted "Thank you, Chuck Norris" when that happened. I thought it was funny as well. I heard that what's his name? Do you know Ronnie Pickering apparently died? Apparently he died of a heart attack, and somebody said it must have been a heart attack because the only one who could have killed him was Chuck Norris. I found that funny. Yeah, God bless them. Thanks, mate. Thanks for the contribution. Absolutely. Cheers, mate. God bless you. I'll get myself an iron brew. I appreciate that very much. God bless you, Daz. Thanks, man. Yeah. I should have asked him to point to Venezuela on a map. He probably wouldn't have been able to do it. You're probably right about that. You probably are. It's no difference when society try to push an anti-white propaganda. They can't separate the Talmudic Zionist Jews from the non-Talmudic ones. Again, they can't separate a Jewish person from Benjamin Netanyahu. Like they literally can't separate them. Yeah, most of them never even read the Talmud in their lives. Very few people consider it to even be canonical. They give you books that a beginner will never understand. Yeah, true. There are people who pass the bar exam without law school. I think smart people don't need law school to become a lawyer. Yeah, you do need to remember a lot of things, though. A lot of things were to be a lawyer. I just rewatched Pacquiao Marquez 3, had it 8-4 Pacquiao. Don't see the robbery was. Yeah, to me that was a fair and clear win for Pacquiao. I thought that at the time, and I still think that now. I think the commentators brainwashed people to think otherwise. I remember Box Nation, they had it like 10-2 to Marquez, or it was something ridiculous. It was 8-4, 9-3, like clear for Pacquiao. I think I had it 9-3, but I could see 8-4, Uni should be put back to being for the top 10% of academic achievers. And yeah, 14 a freehand, reading and writing, adding up plus vocational training. If you teach people how to speak and that, and how to read and write, all good, Yeah, making fun of Piers is so funny. Yeah, Piers Morgan is like he's a total like laughing stock, and he's an easy target at this point, That's basically what he is. The lefties love labeling the right supremacists as Nazis, or the right as white supremacists and Nazis. Yeah. Where was I? If the Greens win, we'll eventually become a third world country. Yeah, we're already on the way to becoming a third world country. The Greens would just add some bestiality and stuff like that into the mix because they're all a bunch of sexual deviants, you know. That's one of my reasons for being a Christian. It's no coincidence to me how everything connects to the Bible. Yeah, literally everything. Every rabbit hole you go down, like if you learn if you look into like flat Earth, if you look into like the manosphere, if you look into literally any conspiracy theory, you'll find the Bible. Literally anything it will lead to, and that'll become your thing. Oh, couple of super chats here. I didn't even see there were super chats there. Um, yeah, thanks to ironically for the contribution. I appreciate that. I always had two. I appreciate that, bro. God bless you. It didn't notify me of them there. I just noticed in the because again the what do you call it, the user interface has changed. I was talking about that earlier. I just saw it on my starred bit there that I had two super chats. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, God bless you, bro. Really appreciate that. Thanks for the contribution. Oh, you accidentally sent it twice. Yeah, that's fine, mate. Don't worry about it. I appreciate that, mate. Thanks. Where was I? Lost my place in the chat. Now, again, I'm still figuring out StreamYard. It's changed since I was last on it. Let me find where I was. I'm just scrolling down the chat. Making fun of peers. Yeah, that was where I was, wasn't it? Near there. One of the reasons for being a Christian, yeah, how everything connects to the Bible. Literally every rabbit hole will take you to the Bible. Normie Red Pill applies to the base tards who blame everything on the chosen people, yeah. Because it's an easy cop-out. Rather than taking responsibility or doing the research to hold certain people accountable for their actions or to actually take an active role in politics, it's easier to just blame the Jews, isn't it? It's easier to just blame one group of people for all your problems rather than actually be pragmatic in any way. I don't even want to hear anyone talk about politics until they read a Bible. You don't understand anything unless you read a Bible. Yeah, unless you read specifically Revelations, unless you understand Revelations and you understand how the Bible subverted paganism, you understand the teachings of the New Testament, the coming of Christ, and what it reveals about what will happen in coming generations. Until you've done that, until you have a genuine understanding of the Ten Commandments and the sacrifice of Christ dying on the cross for our sins, unless you understand that and take it to heart, I don't really want to hear your opinion on anything, really, particularly not your opinion on politics, at least not from a philosophical or a moral point of view, you know? I'm not really interested in factoids. I'm not really interested in memorizing dates and all that. I just want to know: are you a genuine born again believer or are you not? Because if you're not, your opinion's worthless. You know, everything connects to the Bible. Atheists are still too stupid and arrogant. They think God doesn't exist. Because as I've talked about many times, atheists are obsessed with their own sin. Like it's like that meme, how it's like a big fat guy with the fedora. You've ever seen it? You know, and he sits on his ass all day watching Pornhub and engaging in gluttony, right? And then criticizing people for believing in God. Believing in God, being a born again Christian, teaches us to go against all of our base desires, all of our failings as human beings, and to repent of our sins and to trust in Jesus. That's something that a spiritually dead reprobate cannot do. And that's why atheists will never, unless they become born again and truly born again, they'll never be saved. And it's sad, and I pray for them because I wish they could be saved. I wish they would. But not everybody sees things the way we see it, unfortunately, you know? It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, but it is what it is. Trust into God, and he shall direct your path. People never knew Epstein was connected to Israel, even when it first came out, and Normal Finkelstein got offered to visit the island. Said Epstein should be strangled, yeah. But again, it's like Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Epstein's advisor, or his assistant, whatever she was to him. She, her dad was a Mossad agent. He was connected with Israeli intelligence. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that Epstein was a Jewish spy or anything. But it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Like what the connection is there, you know? And then you've got a guy like Tucker Carlson, who is a CIA plant, an obvious CIA plant with a lot of CIA connections, and he's been constantly going at Israel and constantly fueling the Nick Fuentes types. It makes you wonder why he's doing that all of a sudden when he's known about this stuff for a long time, you know. And he's like unironically supporting the Islamic Caliphate, you know. The conservative movement is just so divided now, sadly. All this, the Jews BS is what caused it. Trump did this, he did that, bitching about everything Trump does, yeah. Trump's made an inappropriate comment about his daughter, like as if I'm supposed to give a shit about that. As if that means that we should vote for Kamala Harris. Or we should allow Democrats to chop kids' balls off and all that because we don't like Trump because he makes inappropriate comments. Who cares? People think the Jews of today are not the chosen people. Well, again, that's replacement theology. People believe that the real Israel is the body of Christ, even though in Scripture, Israel, the ordained land of the coming of Christ, where Christ will rule his kingdom, is very different from the body of Christ. The body of Christ is basically us, right? The believers in Christ. I don't subscribe to replacement theology. I don't agree with it. I think it's unbiblical. But I'm open to the idea, but I haven't seen any evidence of it, you know? Yeah, I think we are near the end times, but obviously there's no way I could possibly know. Because we haven't seen it yet, have we? They haven't come yet, you know? Or have they? Who knows? I hear the Book of Acts in King JV versus ESV. The ESV was closer to the oldest manuscripts, but all the Bibles are better in certain ways. They're both good, yeah. And again, let's not forget, we're talking about an English translation of Hebrew, two very different languages. So not every word is going to be the same, and not every pronunciation is going to be the same. Things like that. You know, the King James Version was designed to be spoken out loud in church by people who spoke in Old English, you know. Apparently, the so-called chosen people never had a land because of all the crimes they committed, as if they're cursed. Well, many of the Israelis in Scripture were cursed. That was explicitly stated in Scripture. They were cursed by God because they were workers of iniquity. They were taken out of the land of Egypt, and they became pagans. They were doing evil in the eyes of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them unto their enemies because of that. Again, this is all. War is human nature, right? You're always going to have wars as long as you have humans, because the sinful part of the human heart takes over eventually, and there's always war's always going to happen. So this is why I don't agree with going, this guy's evil and that guy's evil and this guy's a pedo and that guy's a pedo. I'm just fatigued by all that. Okay, this is just the way the world is, right? Revelations are happening right before our eyes, you know. The OnlyFans creator was part of the chosen. I'm losing my place here. It was part of the chosen tribe. His death is anti-Semitic. Yeah, I didn't even know he was part of the tribe. But I didn't even know who the guy was until I heard about that he died. All I know is that he made OnlyFans, so he's probably a piece of shit. You know, is what it is. God bless. You know. Well, the other Bible translations are all different to the KJV, like the Puritans' Bible and the old Bishop's Bible and whatnot, and the NIV, but some of them are a lot easier to read than the KJV, just because of the way things are pronounced and certain words that are used, you know. Yeah, books that a beginner would never understand in uni, yeah. You need to be somewhat educated on the stuff before. It's like when some Indians call British people evil because of colonialism, even though India is literally one of the biggest shitholes in the world. When the British Empire conquered India, they brought civility, they brought culture, they brought finances, they brought like the understanding of private property, the understanding of law and order. They brought things to India, which was a pagan shithole, things that would never have existed. And when the British Empire left India, it went back to being a shithole where they defecate in the street, you know. So British Empire was good. I mean, the British Empire really should have just conquered the entire world and forced Christianity on the whole world. World would have been a better place. And the boomers would have still cried, "Oh, this is fascism. It is fascism because reasons and shit." That's normies, you know, boomers. While they smoke their pot and get drunk every weekend, you know. The ASV is genuinely harder to read than the KJV. Do you know, I've never even read that version. Never read it. Again, thanks for the contribution, man. God bless you. Appreciate that a lot. I really do. I don't understand Messianic Jews much. They're considered Christian. Well, Messianic Jews they're ethnic Jews, right? So their bloodline is Jewish, but they believe in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. They repent and trust in Jesus as their Savior, and they understand. They were smart enough to know that the Old Testament and the New Testament go together. So, I mean, it's a wonder why all Jews are not messianic. They really should be. You know, they shouldn't be like Ben Shapiro types who think Jesus Christ was like a scammer and a warlord or something. Like, they should all be messianic Jews. All of them should be Christians, you know. I'm a Christian, but I want most countries around the world to have basic rights we have in the West. Never going to happen, because most countries around the world don't share our values. They don't have the same brains that we have. They're not as smart as us. They're not as compassionate as us, because they're just different people, you know? Like, you're never going to be able to get a bunch of like savage pagans and savage Muslims to all embrace Christian Western values. It's just never going to happen. My leg is sore, man. Keep pulling my muscles. There's not too many countries where Christian values are upheld. Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Hungary, Serbia. Yeah, all European countries. European countries are all built by Christianity, basically. The Bible answers and predicts all. Night, everyone. Yep, if you've ever got a question on anything, particularly anything moral, open the Bible and read it, you know? Spiritualness is the biggest evidence for Christianity. You can honestly just feel the Holy Spirit all around us. Anybody who has become genuinely born again knows the spiritual power of God. And anybody who tries to tell you otherwise fails to convince you, because you just know it in your heart. You know it spiritually. Okay, spirituality is real. Spirituality is powerful. Spirituality is more powerful than anything the satanic elite can do to you, you know? I pray for Nordic's iron brew habits. Yeah, pray for it, eh? Pray that I get more iron brew, because why not, eh? Oh, shit. I just spilt it on my couch. Pain in the ass. Oh, well. A Muslim somehow landed in Poland and ended up converting to Christianity. Well, a lot of Muslims do convert to Christianity, usually when they come across Christian apologetics that point out how obviously fake the Quran is, and how contradictory the Quran is, and how obviously true the Bible is, you know. Usyk has far better defense than Beevil. Beevil has good defense, but when he opens up and tries to be offensive, his defense isn't as good. Usyk can be offensive and still barely get hit. And even when he does get hit, he doesn't get hit clean, you know. I'm showing Christians the verse in Timothy where being gay should be against the law according to God. No more with normalizing being gay. Well, yeah, if you support LGBT, you're not a Christian. Likewise, if you support like feminism, you're not a Christian. Okay, because the Bible is very, very clear about a woman's role in society, you know, and it's very, very clear about the sanctity of marriage. I might consider leaving the Western world because it's too expensive for normal people to live a good life there. My leg is really sore. To live a good life there, we might need to migrate to Southeast Asia, Latin America, or Southern Africa. Yeah, maybe. If you've got the money and the know-how to do that, you know. Atheists are just too ignorant. Pet peeve of mine: have a chemist uncle who's all about science and being vegan, doesn't want to hear about Christianity. So he's a vegan for religious reasons, right? He believes it's. I'm assuming he believes it's immoral to eat meat, right? That's why he's vegan. But he doesn't believe in morals because he's not a Christian. So he's just a retard. I mean, I hate to be disrespectful, but he's just a retard, right? Because why would he not be? Why would he care about animal rights if he's not a Christian? It doesn't make any sense to me. Even if you don't like Trump, he was clearly better than Kamala Harris. He won because he was more believable and had more charisma. And shooting made people wake up to how deranged people are. Well, look, again, I keep asking people this question when idiots come in my comments and say, "What about Trump? He's not a good person. He's bad and shit." I say, who was your alternative? Who should we vote for? What's your alternative solution? Epstein, my pedo. Like, I'm like, what's your solution? Who should we have supported over Trump? Who should have been president in 2024? Who? And they can't tell you nothing. They've got no answer because they're just contrarians and doomers, basically. They've got no solutions for anything. And these people are worthless. Absolutely worthless. And their opinions are absolutely worthless, you know? The Bible says we don't know the day or the hour, but we will know the season and the signs of the end times. And I think we can definitely see the sign. Yeah, we can definitely see them. Absolutely. Never read the TPB Bible. Nah. I just generally stick with the KGV. That's my thing, you know. Out of interest, do you think it's too late to vote our way out of the mess? Yeah, sadly, it is too late. At least in this country, possibly not in America, but it's sadly too late here. Yeah. Nordic Warrior, how's it going, Lucas? Good to see you here, bro. God bless you. Nordic Warrior, Aslan Makhmudov just went the distance and lost to Tyson Fury. At least he wasn't knocked out. Showed heart. He looked to outbox Dave Allen. Yeah, Makhmudov, he has got heart and he does come to win, but Fury was just leagues above him technically, and he just outboxed him. Fury was just a better technician of the two. And far more experienced too, as well as having more stamina and being more rangy. So yeah, he managed to do it. Most of science is just BS created by the devil. Dinosaurs never existed, and the world is 6,000 years old. I agree, absolutely. Dinosaurs are total bullshit. The dinosaurs were literally. People don't even know this. You know, dinosaurs didn't. The concept of dinosaurs didn't even exist until the 1920s or something. They never even. The concept themselves didn't even exist before then. And the concept of apes, man being evolved from apes didn't exist until the days of Lamarck. And his work was completely and utterly disproven. Every single discovery that was ever made in regards to his theory was proven to be every single one of them without fail. Yeah, there are Indians that use the British infrastructure today. India has one of the worst caste systems in the world, like something out of a Dickens. A fortunate few hundred of millions live in squalor. Yeah, it's horrible. Horrible country. Just covered in dung, you know? Back in those days, the Jews followed God, but not now because there is no way to the Father through him. The Jews that followed Jesus became Christians, so the ones that left rejected him. Yeah, like the Pharisees, the religious leaders at the time, tried to execute anybody who believed in Christ, and yet Christianity still flourished and still spread, not through the sword. It spread through word of mouth and through spiritual revelations, you know. The boomers of every ethnic group are horrible, entitled people. Yep. They think because they're boomers, they're better than you, and they're entitled to your hard work and your living, you know, despite the fact they earn none of it. What will happen to Jews who don't believe in Christ? Well, anybody who rejects Jesus Christ and doesn't believe in his divinity is not going to be saved. Scripture is very, very clear about this. You have to believe in Jesus and trust in him that you shall be saved. Scripture is very, very clear about that. That's the only way to heaven, you know. Messianic Jews consider themselves Jews as they follow the 613 commandments of Moses, but believe in Christ. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They follow the traditional Old Testament law, but they also trust in the Ten Commandments and the New Testament revelations. They also believe in the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ. Iron Brew's a great drink, one of the best. Yeah, yeah, Western values, but they prefer Western countries. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., on the other hand, unlike Makhmudov, Chavez Jr. has no heart. Look at the Daniel Jacobs fight; he got dominated and faked a hand injury. Yeah, Chavez Jr. was complete rubbish, a complete fraud in my opinion. I never rated him from the first time I ever saw him. I always thought he was rubbish. I heard Reform and Restore had a split where Restore is more committed to stopping migration. I've never voted in my life. If I was to vote for any party, it would be Restore. Restore might be the first party I've ever voted for, if it comes to it. You know, not that my vote would count for anything though. And fake hand injury, but not a fake hand injury. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Restore versus Reform is an interesting battle for sure. We can dismiss Reform as controlled opposition. Yeah, we can dismiss Nigel Farage as someone who would rather put an innocent man in prison to protect the rights of foreign rapists. That's not somebody I want on my team. It's not somebody I want to hang my hat on. The furthest you could ever go on the homosexuality question as a Christian is tolerance. Toleration. Actual support is bullshit. Yeah, you can tolerate their existence, and you don't have to go as far as to say let's remove them from society and exterminate them, but you don't support them. You don't audibly say yes, this is a lifestyle I get behind. This is biblical. No, that's heresy. That's absolute heresy. My uncle believes eating meat is bad for your health and trusts these vegans telling him that, torturing himself for not eating meat. Well, at the end of the day, I lift weights, right? So I need protein to recover. If I don't eat meat, I'll be very weak and I won't recover very well. I tell a pro science atheist that giants existed like in the Bible. They tell me I'm retarded while they fantasize about different worlds with alternate dimensions. Yeah, there are atheists out there who mock Christianity and mock theology. They believe in the multiverse. Like, I'm not even. There are actual atheists, scores of them, all across the internet and all across like atheist circles, who literally believe in alternate dimensions, alternate realities, all this like Marvel shit. They believe in Thor. Again, this is mostly pagans that are into that, but atheists literally believe in like there is no such thing as reality. It's all happening in a dream world. It's all happening in an alternate existence. They actually believe that, but they tell us we're crazy for believing in an all-powerful, um, celestial, omnipotent creator who created the universe. No, there won't be a civil war. There's not enough people on our side. Too many NPCs. Arslan Makhmudov has heart power, willing to learn anything. Chin only been stopped by powerful punchers like Guido Vianello and Ajit Cabello. Went the distance with Fury, also intelligent. Yeah. Makhmudov has improved a lot since those two knockout losses. He's learned how to pace himself. Like, if you look at the Dave Allen fight, he was taking his time and picking his shots. And he went into the Fury fight with a lot more encouragement, I'd say, in terms of like being able to go 10 rounds and knowing how to pace himself. So he was able to make it through and gave it a good go. Pretty good fight. Atheists say science is the answer, yet half of all scientists believe in a higher power. Yeah. Like, their higher power is like science itself. What do you think of the whole theory that dragons existed? Well, dragons are talked about in the Bible, but in the context of just a large creature, like there are creatures that are extinct. Like, for example, it talks about a leviathan, right, which is a large creature from the ocean, right? That there are so many creatures in the ocean which had never been discovered. A lot of it is just unexplored, and again, a lot of it was like hunted to extinction. And And again, as far as dinosaurs, there's never actually, people don't realize this, there's never actually been a dinosaur skeleton discovered. Do you know when you see these big dinosaur models in museums? Basically, they are derived from fossils, right? And what you have in a fossil is maybe the imprint of like a tooth or like a toe or so. It's mostly just a tooth that they find in a fossil, and then they derive a whole creature. Like a T Rex was like that. They literally found a tooth, a slightly misshapen tooth. They didn't know what creature it was from. So these like old school early 1920s science fiction writers literally created the concept of a T Rex or a Triceratops. People actually believe. Like I was having a conversation with a guy who was like 65 or something, right? And we were talking about atheism. We were talking about evolution. And this guy said he brought up to me, oh, there's proof that dinosaurs existed because in the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery and Museum, they have a T Rex statue. And I was like, mate, you do realize that that's not an actual skeleton. And he's like, yes, it is. And I'm like, mate, it's literally a plaster cast model of a T Rex. That's not an actual. He thought it was an actual T Rex skeleton. So he Googled it and he looked it up and he found out, oh, you're right. That actually isn't a T Rex. This guy, this 65-year-old guy who was trying to tell me about, atheist, right? He's trying to tell me about evolution and dinosaurs. He didn't even realize that the dinosaur in the Kelvin Grove Museum was not a real dinosaur. And I had to explain to this guy that in natural history museums, the statues that they have, like all these Neanderthal stuff and these dinosaur bones, are not actual dinosaur bones. They're derivatives of fossils, because that's where supposedly the theory of dinosaurs comes from, right? It comes from fossils, right? Like dinosaurs supposedly died, 65 million years ago, right? Bones don't last 65 million years. Bones don't even last 1,000 years. Okay, they disintegrate well before then, depending on the conditions, of course. But in wild conditions, that's what would have happened, right? So they find a stone, a rock that has an imprint of a tooth in it, right? And they derive an entire creature, a fictional creature. They derive it from that imprint, that fossil, and people genuinely believe that this is real. They genuinely believe, like they'll watch Jurassic Park and think, which is Universal, right? Which is a company with Freemason ties, right? Again, another rabbit hole you want to go down. Go and look that up if you want to waste your time. There's more important things, right? This is stuff I learned many, many years ago, right? Universal has ties to Freemasonry, right? Jurassic Park normalized the concept of dinosaurs, as did many other movies, as well as The Land Before Time, which came from the same publisher, right? Which was to raise children on the idea of dinosaurs being history millions and millions of years ago, right? These dinosaurs are literal derivatives. It's not like they found a T-Rex skeleton in the ground and put it up in a museum. Supposedly, any remnants of actual bones that were discovered are locked away in vaults, and only very, very specific ordained paleontologists are able to study them, right? No, they're literal fictional, like science fiction derivatives from fossils. That's officially what dinosaurs are. Now that's the official story. What do you think the real story is? The real story is literally nothing. I could take a stone and I could carve, like I could just find a rock in the garden, right? I could carve a picture of a tooth into it, or the shape of a tooth, and I could say I found this in the in the jungles of Africa or whatever. What do you think this is? And some science fiction writer could say, oh, that's the tooth of this newly discovered super duper Megasaurus Rex that lived 70 million years ago. And I could draw it up and then make a model of it in a museum. Normies would believe it was a real creature. They would. That's how stupid normies are and how much they're willing to accept anything that the mainstream gives them without doing a shred of research. It would take you 5 seconds to just Google it and find out whether or not that statue, that model was a real thing. It was actually real bones, and you would find out it wasn't. But normies are not willing to do that research unless you really drill it through their heads and convince them, you know. Yeah, India still uses British Railways very, very poorly because they get hit by trains all the time because they're that stupid, you know. Um, where was I in the chat? For he that suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, yes. And that's why when the people go, if God real, why he allows suffering? Well, suffering actually brings you closer to Christ because he suffered and died on the cross for us. So it's not always a bad thing. Not temporarily, anyway. Would you vote for the BNP? Yeah, back in the day I would have, but I was too young back then. So I wasn't even at the voting age, you know. 1 and 2 Peter I found to be a great read. Yeah, absolutely. I can't really say. Again, I'm not American, so I can't really say whether it's right to vote in America. Fanny Farage suggested we should be involved in war. Of course he did. Farage is a Tory, so he would say that, you know. Chavez Jr. was completely trash, got outboxed and lost every single round to Canelo. Fonfara got outboxed and knocked him out. Faked a leg injury and lost to Jake Paul. He also lost to Sebastian Zabik. That was a robbery, that fight, if you've ever seen it. The German fighter, Sebastian Zabik, beat Chavez Jr. and got robbed. And that was the title where Chavez Jr. won the... That was the fight when he won the title. I've never seen No Country for Old Men. No, I've never seen it. Sorry. I have to laugh at the religious zealot of militant atheists. They have an American level understanding of irony. Yeah. Yeah, Chavez Jr. is the definition of a Nepo baby. The definition of one. Do you think AJ could beat Fury if his head was screwed on if they fought right? I think he could, but I wouldn't make him the favourite because Fury has better stamina and better boxing skills, and that might be enough to beat him, you know? Makhmudov was landing on Fury, but smothering his work a lot. Clenching as his energy drained. Other than the first round, he was outclassed. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit. Yeah, a lot of people will turn a blind eye when their own do bad things and only call it out when it's like the opposite team, so to speak. That's what a lot of people are like. Dinosaurs are just a cover up from the fact that giants existed and dragon like creatures. Well, there have been many, many giants discovered throughout history by archaeologists, and every time they do, organizations like the Smithsonian and the Natural History Museums refuse to put them on display and refuse to promote them. Like, there's been a lot of archaeological studies, like, for example, the land of ancient Babylon and whatnot, which have confirmed the Bible. But you never hear about this. All you ever hear about is dinosaurs and stupid shit like that, you know? All you hear about is nonsense. Just go to the toilet. Be back in a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Where was I? My brother was telling me that there's no evidence for Christianity. So I've been compiling a list of evidence. Maybe I should include the Mary apparition, even though I'm not Catholic. Include whatever you want. Like, it probably won't work. If he's telling you that there's no evidence in Christianity, then he's probably not willing to do the research himself, which is sad, you know. Is the Earth flat, Nordic? I don't know. It could be, for all I know. I mean, I don't rule out the idea. I have no way of knowing what shape the Earth is. I mean, if I were to, like, if I had a rocket ship and could fly off into outer space or fly in a full circle around the supposed globe, then I would know, but I don't have access to those things, so there's no way I could possibly know. You need to be a multi-billionaire to have the resource and have loads and loads of government connections to be able to find that out, you know. If dinosaurs were real, surely their bones would not be around due to the wear and tear for that long, considering how long they were extinct for. Yeah, they're not real. I think dinosaurs are absolutely fake. They're science fiction, literal science fiction. They're as real as King Kong, you know. Did you ever watch that industry hoax video months back where they were discussing about the Titanic sinking was a hoax? Well, I saw the trailer for it, but I didn't watch the actual video. And the reason I didn't watch the actual video is because he hid it behind a paywall. So I didn't manage to watch it, no, sadly. But I did hear about it. I know he did one about Epstein being a hoax as well, but I've not been able to see that either because again, I'm not willing to pay for his content being behind a paywall. You know, I think if you're gonna propagate information, the information should be free. I've always believed that about the internet. You know, atheists believe random chemical process created hyper specialized functional complexity, such as DNA, which is an actual algorithm code. We've never observed natural process doing that. Yeah, the atheists literally believe in a scientific impossibility. That's what they believe, you know. I don't know if you've seen many ancient arts and actual cultures depict dinosaurs. Maybe they lived recently. Yeah, there's a lot of old sculptures that depict dinosaur-like creatures, which could have been maybe the dragons mentioned in scripture. You know, I'm open to the idea. You know, atheists started to believe in God when Chuck Norris told them to. Yeah. Chuck Norris was totally based. R.I.P. Chuck Norris, man. Totally based. Need to watch some of his movies. Yeah, big up 90s, man. God bless you. The mission in Red Dead 2 where the lady makes her own creature using bones is exactly what scientists did with dinosaurs. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I know exactly what you're on about. Yeah, that side mission where you find the dinosaur fossils and that was so funny. Even if remigration did happen, would any minorities be allowed to stay? I don't know. It depends who's in charge, doesn't it? I've actually no idea. Yeah, he does. Yeah, Nick Griffin has a YouTube and a Twitter, but he's heavily shadow banned, so he'll never have a big audience ever. If there was no suffering, there'd be no point to free will. Look, suffering is natural, and again, people who have suffered have come to Christ, so it's not always a bad thing, you know. It's not always a bad thing. Do you think something similar to dinosaurs may have existed before the art? Well, yeah, there's extinct creatures. Again, like the Leviathan mentioned in scripture is a perfect example of this. But who knows? Because none of us were around to see them. None of us really know what they look like or how what their relationship with humans was like, if any. You know. No, I'm still here. I just went for a pee. Groypers have always been controlled opposition. Most of them aren't white or American. They just embarrass the right by being strawmen. Most are brown or Asian bots. Yeah, a lot of them are bots. No doubt about it. And they're easy to draw out as well. A lot of them, without a doubt. I think we'd have to keep a significant minority in Britain. It would be too expensive and politically impractical not to. Yeah, it just wouldn't happen because what you're going to do is exterminate them all or send them all on a boat. Like, it's not going to happen. It's just impractical. Groypers are more ethnically diverse than the UK. White Arab, brown Goyas, yeah. The word dinosaur means terrible lizard. Yeah, it does. It does. The Pope is an actual Satanist. Well, the Pope affirms LGBT and abortion. So, and he told people to get the vaccine. So screw him. Pretty sure Lucy Letby and Nicola Bully were industry hoaxes. Do you know the Nicola Bully one is so weird because that Nicola Bully seemed like a fake account on social media. Like if you try to look up who that woman was and that disappearance, I just don't understand it. There was so much about that didn't make any sense to me. The Lucy Letby thing, I don't know what that's all about. I suspect that could be connected to some sort of. I know I sound schizo here. That could be connected to some sort of baby sacrificing cult, kind of like the UK's version of Planned Parenthood or something, and they kind of threw her under the bus. I don't know, but supposedly she murdered a bunch of babies. I mean, Planned Parenthood does that all the time. So what's the issue? Is it a crime or isn't it? You tell me. When Chuck Norris did push-ups, he in reality pushed the earth down. I seen the funny comment one time. It was Chuck Norris was doing some jiu-jitsu training, and this guy was like teaching Chuck Norris how to do like a rear naked choke. So a person's forearm was on Chuck Norris's neck, and they were like rolling on the mat and training. And then someone in the comments was like, "Is Chuck Norris gets choked out there?" and then and then someone else was like, "No, that person's forearm got choked out by Chuck Norris's neck." And it was funny because do you know when Chuck Norris died? Like a day or two later, that Robert Mueller died. That scumbag behind the Russiagate hoax, and then the guy who invented OnlyFans. They both died like the same day. And then Jack Pasabik on Twitter I think it was him anyway. He was like, "So Chuck Norris took death's job, and doesn't waste any time taking out the trash." It was like, "Thank you, Chuck Norris." That was brilliant. Nick Griffin cooks to Islam. Yeah, he does. Sadly, he does the same thing that Tucker Carlson does. Sadly, whereas he never used to. Nick Griffin used to be vehemently against Islam. Nowadays, he seems to be cooking for them. I don't like that. R.I.P. Chuck Norris. God bless him. There's not a single legit picture from NASA of Earth. They're all green screen CGI images. I'm pretty sure NASA translates to deceiver. Do you know what NASA stands for? Never a straight answer. Or not a space agency. That's what it stands for, Very dinosaur-like creatures have been depicted in ancient China, Mesopotamia, Babylon, Europe, and Israel, and more. And again, that fits in with what the Bible talks about with the Leviathan and various other creatures, Excuse me. Yeah, there were 9-foot human. There have been 9-foot statues discovered. Like there was one in Ireland. There was many in the Middle East. Like there've been a lot of giants discovered in archaeology all throughout history. Random made-up fact of the week: Lucy Letby worked at Conor Benn's favorite family planning clinic. That's good. That's a good one. Thoughts on the moon landing? 100% fake. Look at the Apollo 11 lunar lander. It's literally an arts and crafts project stuck together with duct tape and aluminum foil. Literally, I'm not even exact. Just Google the Apollo 11 lunar lander and zoom in on it. There's bits of it that are covered in aluminum foil, bits of it that are like stuck together with duct tape, bits of it where they forgot about the duct tape and just left it hanging. It's literally a child's arts and crafts project. I'll tell you what it is. It was made in the 1960s, right? Now, one of the things that was popular in the 1960s was a concept called retrofuturism. If you know what retrofuturism is, right? It's where they make something that looks like if you look at old space movies from the 1960s and 70s where they had like pointy rockets and weird looking aliens with like tinfoil suits and weird like silver hats and all that, like everything just looked stupid and goofy. That was the style at the time. It's a style at the time, right? It's that's literally what the Apollo 11 lunar lander was. It was a laughable 1960s attempt retro futuristic technology. So it looks stupid. If you looked at it back then, you'd have thought, wow, that looks like something out of a science fiction movie, right? If you look at it now, it looks like a stupid high school arts and crafts project. And you would look at it and think, wow, that looks like a stupid arts and crafts project from the 1960s. That's literally what it is. It's so fake, it's unreal. Like the moon landing, I've never believed it. So I got in trouble in science class in school for telling the teacher that I think the moon landing is fake. He shouted at me and everything. you know, That's what it is. I've never believed in it. Never believed it one bit. Yeah, pray for my iron brew habit. Why don't you? Where was I? I remember some ethno-nationalists that believe that Europe will be mostly white again one day, not in our lifetime. Maybe one day. I can only hope that it happens for future generations. I don't know. Nick Griffin is he's not really relevant now. Again, he's been too shadow banned. He's been more shadow banned than me, and that's saying something. You know. Another thing I think is a fake psyop story is Madeleine McCann. I agree. Looked into that for a long time. Never saw evidence she was a real person. That whole, do you know? I actually know someone who knows Madeleine McCann's dad. That guy's a weirdo. And by the way, like there's so much deception involved with that story. It's a massive rabbit hole. That's another one that where see every single rabbit hole you go down will just it's like 9/11. You have no idea where you're going with it. It will never take you anywhere. You'll never accomplish anything. It's just a massive distraction. And it's weird because there's so many kids who go missing every single year in this country. Kids go missing, right? Why did the Madeleine McCann story get so much press? Why was it constantly being talked about? Why is it still constantly being talked about like 20 years later? What's that all about? Like, there's just something about that story where ever since you first hear about it, nothing about it adds up. Like, she goes missing and they've got no leads whatsoever. The police in Portugal believe the parents murdered her and covered it up. But they weren't detained or anything like that. Like the cadaver dogs supposedly found evidence or could sense evidence in the back of the guy's car, yet that was never looked into. They had like some suspect that they found like 15 years later. Like, I don't know, man. They had weird connections to the elite or what. It's just a. I looked into it a lot in the past, and it's pretty well established in conspiracy theories, or well believed anyway, that there's something that the media covered up, or that the media gave a bunch of red herrings involved in that story. Yeah, atheists believe we're involved in fish. Atheists believe that a fish grew arms and legs and crawled out of the water, and instead of going and suffocating to death because fish can't breathe out of water and the gills need water, all of a sudden they developed lungs and they developed a mammal's respiratory system that they magically turned into reptiles which lay eggs and live on land, and those reptiles magically turned into monkeys for some reason. Don't know why. It's natural selection, I guess, which goes against the very rules set by the concept of natural selection. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole, right? I digress. And basically, they turned into somehow at some point, some arbitrary point, millions of years ago in history, they turned into monkeys who climbed up trees and had tails and all that. And then, for whatever reason, they climbed down from the trees. The tails disappeared. The hair fell off, and they became human. Why did all this happen? What was the necessary adaptation for a human being to lose its fur and lose its tail and lose its ability to climb and become bipedal and all that? Like, where did all this come from? It and what evidence in the fossil record supports this? Absolutely nothing. But if you disagree with it, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. You're a religious fundamentalist. It doesn't make any sense. Do you actually think the Titanic sinking could have been a hoax in reality? No, do you know what? Do you know? I misread your comment earlier. I thought you were talking about the Titan sub. You know, the submarine a couple years back that sunk. The Industry Hoax made a video about that, but he put it behind a paywall. I actually did see his Titanic one, and to be perfectly honest, I was disappointed with that video. There was nothing about that video that interested me. On what I do find interesting about the Titanic, though, is how the name Titanic obviously comes from the name Titan, right? Now, what does Titan mean? A Titan. Titans were those who dared to challenge the gods, right? It's a pagan concept, right? The Titans were mortal beings who challenged the gods. Now, the reason it was given the name Titanic, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was because they said God himself couldn't sink the ship. That was apparently a quote when the ship was made, or so I've heard. And then on its first main voyage, it sank, right? So it's the irony of the situation. So it's possibly, I believe it was possibly a satanic ritual, or possibly some sort of ritual anyway, where they sacrificed a bunch of wealthy, connected people um, under the guise of challenging God or something. I don't know. It's a weird situation that I don't really think it's worth dwelling on. If truth be told, I wouldn't worry about it. One second, guys. Let me just find something. Sorry about that. All right, where was I? I'm pretty sure the second guy to land on the moon straight up said in an interview that they were never there. Well, I find it interesting how, because the astronauts would have to know, right? Every astronaut is like either a Freemason or they're related to Freemasons, right? But I digress. The astronauts would have to know that the moon landing is fake, right? They'd have to know that, right? Now, Buzz Aldrin and what's the other guy called? Neil Armstrong, right? A Christian approached them with a Bible in his hand and flat out said to them, he explicitly said, put your hand, I will donate $10,000 to a charity of your choosing if you will only put your hand on the Bible, the Holy Bible, and swear that you went to the moon. Neither Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong were willing to do it. Neither one of them was willing to put their hand on the Bible and swear that they went to the moon. Why is that? It's an easy thing to do, and it's the easiest 10,000 to charity you could ever make, right? Why were they not willing to put their hand on the Bible and swear that they went to the moon? Well, because maybe they're concerned about the judgment from God that would come along with that. Maybe, if you ask me, that's something worth talking about. Why not go to the Islamists? Don't know, man. Maybe he's been paid off by Qatar. I don't know. I have no idea. Another good PSYOP candidate is the Michael Barrymore thing. Barrymore was done and on his way out. It probably kept his public notoriety alive. Could have. It's a good point. It's definitely worth looking into, I guess. Could be a good or an interesting curiosity. When I was younger, I could never really get my head around the idea of nothing existing before the Big Bang. Me too. I had that exact same thought as a kid. I would think there has to be something, as time never stops. Yeah. What's the point of anything if the world just ended and there was nothing? Is there just infinite nothingness? Infinite nothingness. Like, what is nothingness? I had these conversations with myself in my own like schizo brain and could never grasp the meaning of life until I came across the Bible, until I came across spiritual wisdom of becoming a born again Christian. Makhmudov warrior, heavy-handed hitter, Chavez Jr., zero boxing IQ and clown. That's you've put it better than I could ever put it. Yep, I've got a lot of respect for Makhmudov as a fighter. Chavez Jr., it's hard to find anything to respect about him. Do you know, I can see why people think that, but I think the Question Time episode was a total setup. It was basically a lynch mob. They brought him on. They actually showed us that in school, believe it or not. And they were trying to tell us how evil Nick Griffin was. And I was like, no, I like Nick Griffin. I think he's kind of based, actually. You know, that was my reaction to that. You know, no, he didn't tell me to stand against the wall. He just shouted at me and said, "Only conspiracy theory." His name was Mr. Reed, this teacher. I remember very, very specifically. He was like, he's like, "Only conspiracy theorists say we haven't been to the moon. We have." That was him shouting at me, you know. In forensic science class in high school, they showed us a propaganda film trying to prove the JFK killing wasn't a conspiracy. They didn't address most of the arguments. That's another rabbit hole you'll never get to the end of. There's so much like manufactured red herrings surrounding the JFK assassination. That's one I wouldn't even bother looking into because you'll just waste your time, you know. When you think Europe was great to visit, probably the 90s. Well, the 90s, most of Europe was great. Most of it was pretty base. In 2000s, it was all right, you know. How come the monkeys and the fish still around then? Yeah. Yeah. If monkeys and fish turned into people, how come they still exist? A monkey, fish, frog. You're the retarded offspring of 5 monkeys having butt sex with a squirrel. Congratulations. That was funny. I wish social media and the internet were never created because it ruins society. Well, there's positives and negatives to social media and the internet. It's great for propagating information, which can make the world a better place, you know, spreading information. It's also bad because people get hooked on it and spend a lot less time in reality, you know, in real life. So I'm glad I didn't grow up with social media. It didn't come around till later, till I was nearly an adult, thankfully, you know. Macroevolution is so stupid. There's nothing that has ever evolved, turned into a completely new kind or different species. Literally nothing. But people who believe in evolution want you to disregard this and make one exception and state that nature jumped when, even by their own standard, it's impossible for nature to jump, you know? It's physically impossible. There we are. And that's like my third glass in it during this stream. Wow, we've been streaming for nearly 3 hours. It's flown by, hasn't it? Because I've not done it that long. You know, Germany as the worst illegal migration. Do you know what the Germans need? They need Sven Otke to like put together a border patrol, and he needs to teach them all how to do the 1-2 and teach them all defense so they can just kick the absolute crap out of all the migrants, just kick all their heads in. You know, Anthony Mundine them all, you know. That's what they need to do. Apparently the Titanic, it was because there were rival bankers and politicians who were going to take on the Rothschild. It could be. That could be the case. It could have been a sabotage, you know. And the president somehow got a phone call in the White House all the way. Yeah, that's another retro futuristic, like, insanity that you know, aspect of the whole moon landing in the 60s. The president got a phone. You can't even call somebody from the desert because you won't get a very good signal, but you can call them from the moon. Yeah, in the 1960s. Do me a favor. I think the moon landing is retarded and fake. I remember Elon Musk saying something like, with one of his space things, he was like, you know, it's real because it looks so fake. Oh yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? People believe it. There was actually a book written in 1898 called The Wreck of Titan. The book was written by Morgan Robinson, detailing a ship called Titan sinking in the North Atlantic. Well, that could have been predictive programming, or that could have been the inspiration for the Titanic, possibly. You know, possibly. Again, maybe it's like I was suggesting in my video about the satanic elite and predictive programming. Maybe the movie Snake Eyes in itself was like an inspiration for Charlie Kirk's murder. Maybe. I mean, it's a stranger things have happened, haven't they? That could be a similar situation with the Titanic, you know? Maybe they wanted the money in their own wallets. Yeah, maybe it was insured. Who knows? Never know. Griffin's a weird one. I never trusted him personally. I think he stopped the BNP from becoming something huge. It could have done circa 2010, maybe. I just think the establishment put a stop to them, you know. I think the establishment shadow banned them from early on, you know. After getting hit by an iceberg, and it was also referred to as unsinkable in the book, a really creepy foreshadowing to what actually happened makes you think, yeah, again, that's classic predictive programming as far as I'm concerned. That's what it seems like to me, you know. Mr. Reed needs to read. Yeah. Mr. Reed needs to read some more. Mr. Reed needs to educate himself and learn about Mr. Futurism. I mean, retrofuturism. He hated me. Mr. Reed did not like me one bit, you know. And there was also, it's interesting, there was another science teacher I had in school, a later year, a couple of years after, called Mrs. What was her name? Mrs. Markland or something? I can't remember. But she absolutely did not believe in climate change and global warming. She was vehemently against it. And the other science teachers disagreed with her. And I remember like people would bring it up in the class, and she would say she would talk about how the media would show you like videos of like dying polar bears to like manipulate people and say the polar bears are dying, give us your taxes. She used to rant about that whenever anybody brought it up. She was actually quite based. It was quite funny. You know, Mr. Reed needs to stop reading NPC crap. Yeah, Mr. Reed needs to become red pilled. Hopefully he's red pilled nowadays. That would be better. The funny thing is Chavez Jr. acted like a punching bag for 8 rounds against Jake Paul. Then as soon as he started trying, he was beating him, but it was too late. Yeah, that's how you know it's a fix. He gave away the rounds, then showed himself and his family he was capable of winning if he wanted to, you know. Did Griffin swallow it deliberately, or was he just lacking in composure? You could see him crumble and what he surely knew was coming. I don't know, man. Like it's been years since I watched it, but when I watched it at the time, I just felt like they wouldn't let him get a word in, or everyone else on the panel was attacking him. The audience was attacking him. I just think it was a setup, and he wasn't ready for it. Sadly, I mean, who would have been ready for it? I mean, I'd have been ready for it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like one of the most based people of all time, so that's different. Nick Griffin is supposed to be a politician. He's supposed to have a certain etiquette. So he had to conduct himself in a way where, like, he couldn't just start calling them all retards, could he? Like I would have done. And you know, bringing up all the statistics, you know, the racist statistics that would have destroyed their arguments. You know, you can't do that. Germany does not have a proper census. No, it doesn't. Social media can be used to spread Christianity. I heard the gospel through those streams. Yeah, see, it's a good thing for propagating information, and the gospel is part of that information. It might be the first experience or the first exposure some people get to the gospel. That can only be a good thing, you know. Sven Otke could bang when he wanted. Didn't he level Vincenzo Nardiello's brother? He did. He put him in hospital. Apparently, he spent days in hospital and nearly died. Like Giovanni Nardiello, Otke dropped him, right? And he got back up, and Otke hit him with a 1-2 to the temple. And they carried him out on a stretcher. And apparently it was touch and go. Like he was hospitalized for days after it was such a dramatic knockout. Also, he knocked out Arturo Gatti's brother and gave him a brain bleed. Arturo Gatti's brother had brain damage after he got knocked out by Sven Otke. And his career was over. Like, I think the doctors forced him to retire after that knockout. So Otke had power. Like when he actually sat down on his punches, he could knock an opponent out. He could. Like all of his knockouts were brutal, all of them. And he didn't have many, but all of them were genuine knockouts. He didn't have any British stoppages, you know. I told my engineering teacher in high school moon landing was fake. Instead of responding to my argument, told me I was offensive to astronauts. Yeah. What you could have said to him is, I might be offensive, but am I wrong? I might be offensive, but is what I'm saying not true? And do you have a counter argument against it? He'd have probably given you detention, because that's what these power trip teachers do, you know. I asked my engineering teacher, as well as that massive human ovens from World War II couldn't be made of wood. He told me the current camps aren't the real ones, and the original doors used to have metal doors. Maybe. I never believed in the whole my mum was turned into soap BS, and I never believed in that either. You know, I don't know. Maybe he is now. Yeah, if I vote for anyone, it'll be Restore, and I've urged people to vote for Restore. You know, as much as I can. You know, the US faked the moon landing because the Russians actually went to space first with Yuri Gagarin's flight. The US wanted to present an achievement because they were behind in the space. That's a common theory. A common theory a lot of people have. It could be true. Yeah, good old Mrs. Markland. She was pretty based actually. And again, she used to get proper triggered when people would try to promote global warming. She used to get proper triggered by it. She's like, "That's bullshit, not real." It was quite funny. Also, greetings and God bless. Yeah, how's it going, man? God bless. It's Orthodox Easter here. Christ has risen. Luck and health to all. Absolutely. Same to you, brother. God bless you, man. He is risen. He rose from the grave and defeated death so that we could have, and was crucified on the cross so that we could have everlasting life. Weird fantasy fight popped into my mind. Valuev versus Makhmudov. I would go with Valuev on points. Makhmudov is a slightly better boxer, but Valuev much bigger, much tougher, had much better stamina. Makhmudov's a bigger puncher, but he's not big enough puncher to stop Valuev. Valuev was so tough; he would have got through it, I think. And Valuev would have outworked him and won by decision. I think he would have won on points. So yeah, Valuev on points, I think. I remember listening to a Natalie McCann podcast around a year ago where people were discussing how the McCann case was so big because his parents of a higher class compared to others. Well, yeah, they were doctors and they made a lot of money from what I hear. So that might have been why. They might have been able to pay for more exposure than others, you know. Some YouTube page called The Daily Agenda had personal experience with Nick Griffin sending stalkers to stalk him. Is that true? Because I never knew about that. If God isn't real, then we're just overgrown germs. So why should we value human life and has no objective meaning and morality is subjective? If morality is subjective, then it's not morality, is it? It's just somebody's opinion. It's whatever's the current status quo. Just finished my evening sermon. Glad you're still going. Yeah, how's it going, man? God bless you, bro. I'm glad to see that. Yeah, I'm going good. I watched some Sven Oki fights. Really underrated and good to study from. Yeah, Oki was like near perfect boxing fundamentals. Near perfect, just basic fundamentals of boxing. You know, one of the best to learn from, I think. Tel Aviv, Tommy people turning on him. Oh, yeah. A lot of people, because they know he's a shill. Yeah, there's a lot of Muslims in Russia, particularly in Dagestan. You know, that part of Russia is literally ran by Islamic fundamentalists. Like, it's a terrorist state, you know. I have a Romanian at my church. That person's family celebrating Orthodox Easter as well. Yeah, that's good. It's good to see more people are coming to Christ. I love it. I love to hear it. Tomlin talks about Nick Griffin. Nick had love bites on him, really. Oh, well. Maybe Nick Griffin's like a player or something. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so, but maybe. Who knows, eh? Don't judge a book by its cover. Globalists love Islam. Yeah. Globalists, like, Islam is a golem. It's a golem used by the globalists. Let's be honest. That's what it is, you know? It's also always Jesus that's mocked, never any other God. That alone should tell you who the true God is. Well, yeah, like the atheists are not out mocking Muhammad, are they? They're not out mocking Baal or Shiva or Moloch. They're only ever mocking the triune God of the Holy Bible, and His Son Jesus Christ. You know. Yep, exactly. I was debating some atheist on Discord. Said his morality wasn't arbitrary. So I asked where he gets his morals and principles, and he couldn't answer. Then he said, I should be in prison. You should be in prison because you beat him in a debate, you know? That's why. Who's your favorite MMA UFC fighter, Nordic, if you have one? Well, I like Sean Strickland for a couple of reasons. One, he's based, and he's a Christian, and he beat up Sneeko. And the other reason is because he has a very, very good shoulder roll, which I think is also like. See, if you look at Sean Strickland when he fought Israel Adesanya, that's one of my favorite fights to watch from a technical point of view, because he used the shoulder roll and the Philly shell, but he didn't like leave himself open for right hands and like lean against the cage or whatever. He actually came forward with it, but came forward using lead hand control and drew the lead from Sean Strickland. Sorry, from Israel Adesanya, who was a great striker, very, very skilled, and shut him down. You know, it was like a James Toney type performance, but on a much higher level technically. I quite enjoyed that fight. I also really liked Fedor Emelianenko. He was probably the greatest heavyweight MMA fighter of all time in his prime. Again, great striker, but very well rounded. I used to really like watching Mariusz Pudzianowski. I found his MMA fights very, very fascinating to watch. Just seeing how he would make up for his lack of like experience in MMA by being so strong. Like his strength brought him really, really far in the sport. Obviously, Butterbean had a lot of MMA fights which were quite fun to watch. You know, just entertainment really. I liked watching Brock Lesnar. He was fun to watch. There was quite a few fun MMA guys to watch, you know, over the years. There's been quite a few of them, you know. Quite a few of them. My favorite was probably Sean Strickland, though. I used to like Sneeko when he's based in Red Pill. Now he's at Islamatard, sounding like Jihadi. Tate and Fuentes are clowning him now. Yeah, for me, they're all clowns, in my opinion. Never understood the hate atheists have for God. Well, I understand it. How can you have some hatred for something that doesn't exist? Exactly. They know he exists. They hate him because he doesn't affirm their sinful nature, you know? Yeah, Sneeko was always a clown. They only mock Jesus because Satan doesn't waste time attacking false gods, because he believes in false gods are already deceived. Yeah, those who believe in false gods are already deceived. They attack Jesus because Jesus is true, because he's real. That's why. Did you see that video in the US, liberal people invading a church? Yeah, that was absolutely disgusting. And it was that guy, that piece of shit, Don Lemon, who should have been executed for that, because that's literally an insurrection against the church. He should have been, at very least, he should have got life in prison, because that's an act of terrorism and insurrection. Any conservative who did that would have been sent to prison for life, you know. Strickland is going to be fighting the UFC champ, Khamzat Chimaev. That'll be interesting. Sneeko should be deported. Yep. Deport him to Gaza. The Lord our God is one God. Deuteronomy 4:649. Yep. Fedor is simply the best. Great boxing. As an MMA fighter, I've met someone who met him and told me he's a very kind and humble man. Also a Christian, by the way. Yeah, he is. Fedor was a fantastic fighter, and he still fought well into his 40s and was still beating world-class guys in his 40s. Genuinely one of the best MMA heavyweights of all time, in my opinion. Funny, atheists believe in ghost, Satan, but not God. Yeah, you get atheists, I've met them, who literally believe in like paranormal activity, but they laugh at the concept of believing in God. That's how retarded some atheists are, honestly. The dumbest people you'll ever... You literally have to be retarded to be an atheist. You literally do, you know. Fedor Emelianenko was very tough. Dude was landed on his head. Minutes later, he beats the guy. While having a stone cold face throughout. Would have been interesting between Fedor and Lesnar. Yeah, Fedor and Lesnar would have been a good fight. I think Fedor would have knocked him out, but it would have been a hard fight before then, you know. Genuinely would have been. Yeah, you should do that to a mosque. Why not? If you can do it to a church, then why not? Brock Lesnar, true warrior. I saw him get ground and pound till his face looked like ground beef. He got up and won. Yeah, he was tough. Scary guy as well. Like, could you imagine Brock Lesnar as like a doorman? He would be like the perfect doorman, wouldn't he? Like I could just picture that. He's got that look about him, hasn't he? Like nobody's starting any drama if he's there. Especially, particularly again, someone like Valuev would be perfect doing that as well. Have I got any stories about? I got a few actually. In fact, you know what? I don't even know where to start. It's been that long since I talked about it. So last week, was it last week? Yeah, yeah. It was Easter Sunday. A girl phoned the police on me because and accused me of assault. A 16-year-old girl, right? And the reason why is so she tried to use. She was drunk, right? And probably high as well, right? She tried to use a fake ID, and I spotted it, right? I had her ID. I showed it to my colleague, and my colleague, it was a female, right, who was one of the staff. She looked at it and said, "This is fake. You're not coming." And it turns out they actually knew each other because that girl had tried to get in before with a different ID, and she confiscated it, right. So she put the ID up her sleeve and said, "You're not getting in, and I'm confiscating this." And the girl tried to attack her, like she just went for her and like screamed like, and I jumped in between them, and I just wouldn't. I didn't like hit her or anything. I just jumped in between them, and I wouldn't let her pass me. And I was like, please, like, I had my hand on her like this. I was like, please stop, please stop. I can't let you touch her. She's just doing her job. I was like pleading with the girl, and she's like she's going like that, like trying to claw her way past me. And I just like held her at arm's length like that. She couldn't. She obviously I was way too strong for her, right? And she's like trying to push past my hand. And I'm like, just stop. Eventually, she stops. She goes, "Why did you touch me?" Like, and she started screaming at me. And then she pulled out her phone and phoned the police right in front of me and said the bouncer just threw. She accused me of throwing her around. She said the bouncer just grabbed me and threw me around. I want him done. And then about 10-15 minutes later, police showed up. I explained the situation to them. I was like trying not to laugh. I'm like, guys, please. I was like, please go and look at the CCTV. So they did. They went in and looked at the CCTV, and they came out and they were like, "Don't worry about it. You did nothing wrong. It's all good." And then I didn't even have to give a statement. It was that ridiculous. The accusations. So yeah, that was only last week. Pretty funny. There was a boomer. Was this the week before, or was it? I can't remember if it was the week before or the week before that. But there was this old guy, like this old bald guy in his 50s, was refusing to leave, right? And it was like nearly 5 minutes after closing time, and I start taking the glasses off the table, and this guy like snatches the glass off my hands and, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Mate, I told you 10-15 minutes ago, bar's shutting, it's time to go." And he stands up, he's got the glass in the hand as if he's going to hit me with it or something. And he starts going, "You need to calm down." Now I'm very, very calm. I'm like being very, very nice. I'm not using profanity, nothing. I'm like just asking. I'm like, "Listen, mate, place is closed. You need to leave, okay?" And then he goes to me. He's like, "Fuck off!" Like he tells me to f off to my face, and he's like, "I know the boss. This, that, and the other." Eventually, he left. Right. I was gonna throw him out physically, but I was like, "Look, it's the end of the day, right? Like, I just couldn't be bothered. I could have just thrown his ass out. I was like, I just couldn't be bothered. I'm like, grow up, mate. Just go home, right?" And then I go in the next day because I was working in that same bar on the Friday and Saturday, right? And the guy behind the bar goes, "I got complaints about you." And I'm like, Would you mean you got complaints about me?" It's like, "Oh, this," and he's talking about that guy. The guy was saying that I threatened him, and what was it? He said apparently I said to him, "You'll leave when I say you leave," or something like that. And he claimed like I snatched a glass off him when it was him that snatched it off me. And I just said to the guy behind the bar, I was like, "Well, I was wearing a body cam, so he better get his story straight." So that was the situation there. I was wearing my body camera the whole time, right? So I was like, he better get his story straight. And then immediately his tone changed. They were like, "All right, well, don't worry about it." I'm like, "Okay." So that's some of the drama from the past couple of weeks. You know, there's been a few interesting things happened. You know, there was a few like crazy ejections and crazy arguments and stuff like that, but nothing over the past few weeks. Nothing major. Those were the last two things that come to mind. It's funny though. It's a funny job sometimes. There was what was it? Was it Yesterday, I was on the bar. I was at a bar, right, and I was on the door, and this guy walked past me, right. It was this junkie. I didn't even look at the guy. I wouldn't have even noticed him. Unless he did this, right? So I'm just standing on the door, kind of bored out my tits, nothing to do, and this guy shouts over, "What are you looking at?" Like he was. I didn't even realize he was shouting at me, but he shouted at me, right? He said, "What you looking at?" And when he said it again, "What the f you looking at?" And I looked over at him. I'm like, "Is he talking?" And because there was this woman standing next to me having a smoke, and I was like, "Is he talking to me?" And he's like, he's walking away. And while he's walking away, he's got his neck turned and he's like, "You, I'll do you, blah blah blah," like what, walking, literally walking while talking and threatening me. And I'm just like, and the woman's like, she started shouting over at him like, "Who are you talking to, you prick," and all that. And I'm like, don't antagonize him, just leave him. I just found that funny because it's like, he's shouting at me and threatening me while he's walking away. And I'm like, why is he shouting at me and making threats when I'm over here like on the door and he's going away? I just found it so funny. I couldn't stop laughing. I was like pissing myself. That was just yesterday. But yeah, oh, so funny, man. Oh, it's crazy. It's a crazy job. You see some funny stuff. Um, oh, I've lost my bloody place in the chat now. Where was I? Exactly. Jesus is the only threat to evil since why Hollywood. I'm still laughing about that. Why Hollywood has made a name a swear word. People used to say Jesus Christ as a swear word until globalists started paying actors to say, yeah, that's one thing I don't do. You never hear me do this. I don't take the Lord's name in vain because it's a serious sin. In the Old Testament, it's punishable by death. Blasphemy is so serious that it's punishable by death in the Old Testament. Yeah, shut up, TV. I've got one of them new interactive TVs, and see when it sits idle, it starts making noise. They believe in aliens, but not God. Yeah, that's true. They do. I do think there might be a Project Bluebeam fake alien invasion. I'm just going for another pee. I'll be back in a minute. Where was I? Where was I? Yeah, they believe in aliens, but not God. I think Muhammad might have been shown visions from a demon. Again, that's another common belief. Actually, thought it was a demon until his friend suggested it was an angel. Well, Muhammad believed that, supposedly, according to the Hadiths, anyway, he believed he was um, demon possessed, and he tried to kill himself because he believed he was demon possessed. Muslims believe it was the angel Gabriel, but I don't believe so. What do you think about East Asia, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, China? Never been there. Never been. Like, I've got a cousin who lived in Japan, but aside from that, I've never been there. We need more referee t-shirts. Yeah, in that one video, I looked like a referee, didn't I? Because I had my white shirt. I actually had a tie on as well, but my tie came off during. See that fight I showed you? My tie came off during the fight, and I let the lad use it because one of the lads had like a gash on his arm because he like caught it on the door, and like I let them use it to wrap up his wound, basically. Like, so I lost a good tie that day and a good shirt because the police took it for evidence. So yeah, I lost a good white shirt that day. Pain in the arse, you know. Oh well, I've got more. I don't always wear that same outfit because I work for different companies. I work freelance basically. Whoever pays me, I work for them. So I wear different uniforms sometimes. Sometimes I just wear a suit, you know. Even before I heard the gospel, I still believe in the resurrection of Jesus. I just didn't know what it meant. You knew it spiritually. You become repentant and born again. Then you heard the gospel and it all made sense to you. That's what happened, you know. Even people who had never heard of Christianity have heard of Jesus. Yeah, exactly. Because Jesus' power is felt all over the world. It's undeniable, you know. Lesnar should have not fought Overeem after the surgery he had. Yeah, man, that was a long time ago now, wasn't it? She could not handle Nordic chat. Yeah, some stupid little girl. Again, she was like off her face on drugs, and I'm literally just holding her back like that. She can't even get by my lead hand. Not even trying, really. I'm just like that. I'm like, come on, please, please. And it was quite funny at one point because there was these two lads who were waiting to get in, quite big lads as well. Looked like they could handle themselves, and they saw her pushing against me. And while I'm holding her back like that, I literally looked over at these lads, like to kind of like to kind of ensure them that I was not the aggressor here. I was like, "Sorry about this, lads." It's like, well, so while she's screaming and shouting and trying to get past me, I'm like being all nice to these two lads. I'm like, "Sorry about this," just in case they got the wrong idea and thought I was trying to attack this girl and try to jump me or whatever. Like, I didn't want to have to deal with that, you know. 16-year-old drunk. What's wrong with this? Yeah, exactly. Like 16. Where's the parents in that situation? Like, again, I work in the middle of the night, right? And I see young kids. I'm talking way younger than that. Like kids as young as like 12 out in the middle of the night and like the early hours of the morning, drunk. So somebody served them alcohol, and I'm like, who's serving these kids? Where are they getting the drugs and alcohol? Like they must be getting people to go in and buy it for them, like older people and that. It's just and I'm like, where are the parents? Like if I was a kid that age, like let's say when I was 12, 13, if I stayed out in town till 4 in the morning, my mum would bitch slap me and she would never let me out again. She'd be like, you're grounded for the rest of your life till you turn 18. She would never have allowed that. So it's crazy to see these young people now. There was, I'll tell you one story. I forgot about this, and I've got this on body camera. I've still got it. I've archived it on my computer. I'm not going to upload it, obviously, for legal reasons. But maybe one day when I'm no longer doing the job I'm doing, I might upload it so you guys can watch it. But basically, there was this junkie guy who showed up to the door and he had like a hematoma on his head, right? And a cut above his eye. He'd taken a beating, right? And he was concussed, like quite badly. And I was like, my colleague suggested to me, oh no, he suggested to him, you should go over to the street aid round the corner. They'll help you out because the guy didn't know where he was. He was in a bit of a bad way. So, and I was like, he's not going to make it there himself. So I was like, I'll escort him over. I'll be back in 5 minutes, right? So I start escorting this guy over to the street aid. And I was like, so what happened? Who attacked you? I was asking, and he was like, oh, there was 20 of them. But like his story kept changing. 1 minute it was 5 of them. Next minute it was like 20 of them. Like he kept changing his story. And then as I was I was escorting him. I see this group of lads behind us, and they had like face coverings, you know, like balaclavas, hoods up, and all that. And I see them watching us, and I was like, it was kind of my, you're right. It was kind of like my spidey senses were tingling. I knew something was going to happen, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they start surrounding us, and they're trying to get at this guy, and they're calling him a pedo. They're saying he's a pedo. Get him, get him. And then it occurred to me those were the people that attacked him earlier, right? So then this guy's like, stop, stop, please stop. He's like panicking and whimpering. And I had to restrain about 3 or 4 guys, like young lads. They were only young lads, like maybe 17, 18 or something. And they were saying that I overheard them while they were trying to get to him saying that he tried to touch a little girl. Apparently, he tried to touch a 12-year-old girl. And that was why they kicked his head in. So then that was why he was like, he stumbled up to the door all beaten up. It was them that kicked his head in and they were trying to get him again. So I had to restrain them. And I said to him, I was like, let me deal with him. I'll take him to the police, but I can't let you touch him because if he dies, we're all in deep shit. So I managed to like negotiate with the group of them. There was about like 7 or 8 of them. There was quite a few of them, right? I had to negotiate with them to just let me deal with him basically. So I took him across the street. A few minutes later, I see these 2 coppers and I flagged them down and I told them the situation and I handed him in. And yeah, they basically took my statement and stuff like that. Then they took him away. I don't know what happened to the guy after that. That was about a month and a half ago, maybe more, maybe 2 months ago. Actually, it was sometime between now and my last stream. It wasn't that long ago. I've got the video of it though on my computer. Surely that's illegal. No, it is illegal. The drinking age in this country is 18. I know in America, but they use in America it's 21, but here it's 18. But they use fake IDs all the time, like all the time. It's very, very common. You okay if I go till 9 and then stop? All bacon, oh lovely. Thank you. How much have we got?
10 slices.
Okay, we don't have to have them
How
all.
many do you want?
What have we got to have them with?
Eggs.
Bacon. Oh, excellent. Excellent. I love you. I heard YouTube takes a high percentage of super chats. I can't find the right info of how much. I don't actually know. I've not looked it up. I'll look it up though, and I'll find out. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. Where are the parents? Like, if I'm 12 years old, and I'm in the city centre, like at that time of night, I would literally be grounded for the rest of my like childhood. I would. Yeah, no, it was I was literally. Do you know what? I probably was like her daddy in that moment because it's like surely she doesn't have like a parental figure. Otherwise, because apparently this girl was regularly trying to get into that pub and using fake IDs, and every time she showed up, she's drunk. I'm like, who's serving this kid alcohol? It's ridiculous. It was, yeah. Lesnar was a WWE wrestler. Did you ever see that video where Lesnar, like, this is how strong that dude was? Did you ever see the video where he picked up the Big Show and then slammed him to the canvas and it like broke the ring? It broke the canvas. The whole thing collapsed. That was crazy, wasn't it? Yeah, dude's nearly in his 50s, still does it, still a beast. Yeah, still strong, still a good athlete. Lesnar is also one of the types of people who doesn't give interviews, very private and old school. Yeah, you can tell he's a legit like tough guy as well, like the kind of guy you just wouldn't mess with, you know. Or is it 30% that they take? It could have been more. Like, so yeah, thankfully it's not more than that, you know. What do you think of Nick Fuentes asking his supporters to vote Democrat despite the GOP? Republican hasn't delivered, but Dems are literally pro. But yeah, Nick Fuentes is just a troll. That's all he is, mate. Absolute troll. I don't rate him. Boomer Gen X can't have fun without drink. Yeah, they're true. They need alcohol to get through the week. If they don't get drunk at least once, it's like they get depressed and shit. And then that just makes them worse, you know. Similar situation in Greece too. Many youngsters getting badly drunk from a very early age. Most parents think that raising a child is like having a pet. Yeah. Any women tried it on with you, know it. We'll save that conversation for another time. We'll save that conversation for another time. No, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I never understood where exactly is the fun of getting drunk. There's no fun. Or you get drunk, right? And it lowers your inhibition and you make an arse of yourself. And then the next day you have a headache. That's not my idea of fun. Yeah, bullies do play the victim. Bullies start shit and then they complain. that you respond to the shit that they start. That's typical bully behavior. It's narcissism. I think bullies are narcissists. I genuinely do. Robert De Niro, you talking to me? You talking to me? Yeah, that's what it's like. You're talking to me, but he's threatening me while walking. I don't understand why you're threatening someone while walking away. I don't get it. Like it's crazy, man. Nordic pissing more than a piss head. We should ask for ID when buying Iron Brew. Yeah, I've had 3 pisses, I think, since starting this stream. It's like I drink 1 glass of Iron Brew and I piss out 2. That's what it's like. False accusations should be prosecuted, but women are allowed to lie, slander with no accountability. You'd be surprised how often it happens. Yeah, it does. Often with child custody cases and dads lose everything. Yeah, because the court system is set up to screw men over in custody cases. That men often get screwed over in the sense that they might get to see their kid once or twice a week at most, but the woman gets to keep them, you know? Sad situation. Really sad. South Korea, Charlie Kirk said, we could have high trust society in the West when he visited. Yeah. Charlie visited South Korea, I think, just a week before he died or something. And he got the South Koreans loved him. They said he was so respectful and he really enjoyed kind of the high trust society that they had, and he took inspiration from it. Have you talked about that? Have you seen the hadith that 30 Africans rode Muhammad? Apparently, he got powers. I talked about that on my last stream, or was it the stream before? You're talking about the Al Zut story. Yeah, I covered that in one of my recent. In fact, I made a video about it. If you look up the video on my channel, Islam. It's a heavily censored video. It got demonetized and that. The video's called Islam and Pagan Sex Magic. I talked about that at length. That's modern society, unfortunately. Sins go unpunished, yeah. And good people get persecuted, you know. Have you seen Del Boy's new channel called Pseudo? No, I've not seen that. I'll look it up, though. You mean Blue Collar Sports, Del Boy? That what you're on about? Surprised I didn't hear about that. Lesnar versus Overeem is a battle of the... Yeah, they were both juice heads, but who cares? They were all on juice, you know. Nordic practicing his stiff jab on the... Yeah, I literally just had my lead hand out like that, and she was trying to push past it. I had it on her shoulder like this, and she couldn't get by it. I'm practicing my lead hand control on a 16-year-old girl. She's like my sparring partner, you know. Nordic, if you need to show your manliness to your girl, I'll take a dive for you. I'll drop you as soon as you land the first jab. Yeah, I'll just land 1 jab on you and you'll go down like Deontay Wilder opponents when they get hit by the pinky finger. I didn't see Barrios Garcia. I think I saw some highlights. I didn't watch the whole thing though. I forget. Yeah, I don't rate Ryan Garcia one bit, to be honest. Go to 10, show the women who is boss. Don't be a simp. And go to 9, red pill fraud advice. Yeah. Girlfriend serving you bacon and eggs. I'm happy about that. Lovely. It's frying as we speak. Be lovely. Brian Norman switched trainers to Ronnie Shields. No, that's good because he's a experienced trainer, so that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Asking that question when the girlfriend is there is diabolical. It is. Yeah, that is diabolical. She just walked in. She was not there when I put... Yeah, that's true, yeah. He didn't post that before she came back in. Yeah, so that's fair. Yeah, Blue Collar Sports TV. Del Boy made a new channel. I'll look that up then. I'll look that up. So it's called... What's it called again? Let me see the comment. I'll go back to it. It's called... where is it again? Pseudo Psycho. Yeah, perfect timing. Yeah, and perfect excuse as well. Pseudo Psycho. Yeah, I like the sound of that. I'll give you guys this though. I have been sexually assaulted, probably at least a handful of times in the past 2 weeks alone, and not just by women. So I'll talk about that sometime. Yeah. What does he talk about on the pseudo psycho channel? Is it more like gore stuff or is it like other stuff? No, I certainly did not enjoy it, and you'll know why when I tell you. I certainly did not. It was actually very disturbing. But see, when you work doors, being like sexually assaulted is something you just have to deal with. It's unfortunate, but it's one of the realities of the job, you know. Do you get any anti-English? Oh yeah, absolutely. Some people get very, very triggered. It's usually only boomers though. Young people don't normally care about that, but some alcoholic, drunk Scottish boomers get very offended by an English accent. Very offended. They hate it. They despise it. You know, it's crazy. Some of them will literally like square up to you because of it, and then end up getting kicked out. You know. Rolly Romero is a fake welterweight champ. Yeah, he's a bum. He's garbage. Complete rubbish. Was it Purple Lackey? No. Thank God. Because if it was Purple Lackey, I don't think I could do anything about it. He's too big. That guy's scary. Actually, Fury can go 12 rounds at a good pace, weighing in 270. Yeah, he can. He's just got good genetics for surviving the 12 rounds, you know. Do you still practice your jabs? I practice my punching technique every single day. Sometimes I'll just shadow box, like when I'm standing about, or I'll punch walls, but I'll punch them, I'll punch them lightly. So like I'll sit and I'll go like that, and I'll hit the wall with my front two knuckles, and I'll practice kind of like combination punching on them, you know. I'll punching technique, something I constantly drill, because it's something I constantly might need to use, you know. Yeah, drinking alcohol every single day. I actually met a guy, right, in a bar, and he was an alcoholic, this guy, but he was like recovering. So he was this guy was going into rehab the following day, and he was telling me that he drank 17 pints a day. Guy was actually a former doorman. He used to be a doorman years ago. He did it for like 20 odd years. He was on 17 pints a day. Now, see, if I drink 5 pints, I feel like shit, right? I feel horrible. This guy was on 17 pints a day. Like, can you believe that? Shocking, man. He talks about anything: politics, life, religion. Doesn't know when he's going to upload. Uploads when he wants to. All right, I'll check the channel out. I need some content to watch anyway. Well, boomers have no self-awareness, so when they cause bad things to happen, they complain about it and act like it's our fault, you know, when we weren't even alive to prevent it, you know. England and Scotland are the same, especially when crossbreeding is their ethnic difference. People are just retards, yeah. Exactly. There's no ethnic difference between an English and a Scot, but they can't see that because they've been brainwashed by boomerism. Ben Romero. Well, because they've got fan bases and nepotism, you know. That's why you've heard of those guys. Next time, Nordic, land a right hook on the girl. Yeah, I'll just hook her. Next time a 16-year-old girl uses a fake ID, I'll just crack her on the chin and lay her out, and then be like, hey, it was self-defense. I feared for my life, you know. Feared for my life. What am I supposed to do? You know, I literally had no choice. Or you get Ryan to teach me the left hook. On my lunch now, eating Dave's hot chicken. Nice. Nice for you, man. I'm about to have a bacon and eggs right after I finish this and finish my iron brew. Yeah, 17, mate. I don't think I could even drink 17 pints. I don't think I could. I think, see, if I tried, sorry, one sec, let me pick something up. I need to plug this in. This bloody laptop runs out of battery so quickly, it's annoying. Like, I don't think I could drink 17 pints. I think I would die if I drank 17 pints. Yeah, I don't. Drinking's pointless anyway. Yeah, Tyson Fury or Ricky Hatton, maybe he could have 17 pints. He's like that guy in the Phantom Menace PS1 game, that midget guy who's about to race, and he goes, "I can drink 5 times as much as any being 3 times my height." Oh, that's funny. Hopefully, I don't think so, but hopefully they can. Your left hook is misogyny. Yeah, it's a personification of misogyny. Boom. You know. Thank you. I had the fight 6-6, but why do so many people have the fight 9-3 or 10-2 when the film doesn't say that? Are you on about Mayweather Pacquiao? I'm not sure. Did Moses Italian? No, I didn't watch that, but I heard he stopped him and won pretty easily. Just say you're a Muslim. Next time you're battering a 16-year-old, people will leave you alone. Yeah, they'll say, well, Muhammad did it, so why can't you? You know? I didn't see Fury's tribute to Hatton, but I know the two were friends, so it makes sense. Unfortunately, a lot of them are, yeah, sadly. At my old job, my boss would get pissed at me because I would always punch large metal machines to strengthen my face. I know people see me shadow boxing at work when I'm really bored, and they'll be like, "What are you up to?" And I'm like, "I'm just occupying myself because I'm bored, you know." And this is what I do when I'm bored. I start shadow boxing. I've done that ever since I was a kid, you know. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm about to eat, so I'll wrap this up. Yeah, punching nothing. Yeah, shadow boxing. I'll wrap this up. Thanks for stopping by, guys. It's been fun. Don't know when my next one will be. Hopefully, it won't be like 2 months away. Hopefully, it'll be much sooner than that. Thanks for watching, and God bless. Stay vigilant.